Good evening.
Good
Hello.
evening. Does evening start at 5 p.m. or 6 p.m.?
To me, it starts at 5.
I mean, yeah, okay, I can live with that. It's just like to me it's been evening all day because it's like cloudy and
It's been
like
gray,
moody.
but in my brain, evening starts at 5. Let's see what
Yeah,
Google
I can
says.
I can do that. It's probably one of those bullshit things where it's like it actually starts at 8 p.m. and no one abides by that shit.
Google says 6 to 9.
Yeah, okay. It's evening starts when the at post sunrise. Sorry, yeah, post sunrise. I mean that's technically accurate. Post sunset.
See, the thing is my Fridays used to be very, very centered around the dusk. It was very
Mm-hmm.
important to know what time the sun was setting because that was when the fun had to go away.
Oh, is
And
that like you got to go home before sundown kind of thing?
yeah, or if you were home, you had to stop having fun.
Bec- mm,
Shabbat,
be
Sabbath, can't be doing ungodly things Friday to Saturday.
Friday.
So,
Okay.
so the
So does that
sundown,
include like okay,
yeah.
how broad is the lack of fun?
Well, that's my way of looking at it, but it really is about. It's supposed to be about doing like God related activities and or
Okay.
not working and not doing things just for your own pleasure.
Okay.
So
So
broad, vague
say you're
description.
say you're married,
Yes,
okay? Which you are in fact married. Congrats.
correct.
Again. And you've decided that the best way to honor God is to have a bunch of kids. Does that mean that Shabbat time can be like impregnate your wife hours? Is
Missionary
that not?
explicitly for the sake of procreation and saying a prayer in between each pump.
Yeah.
I'm sure someone did it. I'm sure it fits in somewhere. It's not exactly resting though. It's not what I would call it, huh? It's not exactly a
Yeah.
day of rest. Yeah.
What? Okay. Let's move off. Let's move off this. What if
Not when
you
I'm involved. What's up? Heyo.
decide that you're worshiping the Lord through football and that
No.
football is a godly sport?
No. No.
Oh, mm.
Doesn't work. What you can do is you can have like songs that are kind of like Bible games, or you can do things like let's say you're playing like Mad Libs and it's like, oh, first person to like quote to remember the to fill in the Bible verse, or
Uh-huh.
you know what I mean, or like, oh, what book did this come from? Ecclesiastes. Oh yeah, that was you. Okay, you know, you have to.
What's the authority on the rule book of prescribed activities on this?
Well, that's it, right? It's we're not in the electricity is banned camp. It's
Okay.
more of just the day of rest camp, and so. But the point was TV's going off unless you're
Right.
watching a like church channel, you know.
What about like a nature documentary?
Yeah, no, that works. That works.
Okay.
That's a nice little like I wouldn't say loophole, but that
Well,
was the
yeah,
type.
because it's like I mean that's good for you.
Yes, but that's the type of thing that I would get into. Would be like I'm gonna watch the shit out of some nature related things, and enjoy that because you do what you can with what your limitations are. But either way, the point is that the sun would go down at a different time across the year, and we'd pay attention. So for me, it was like, okay, the sun starts to go down. You can get the last couple games in. You can run a couple more sets, you know. But as long as you're kind of looking at it risen, even if it's peaking out, it's like, okay,
Okay.
you're still good, you're still good. And then once the sky is orange, but you don't see the sun anymore, it's sunset.
I have a question. So in the rules, it's very specifically sundown. Yes.
Yeah.
Now, how does living within the polar circle affect this?
Yep. Yep.
Or even like equatorial countries that just have much longer days.
Iceland in the summer, right? Northwest Territories. I'm sure there are some Adventist people out there who live in those zones, and they've got to figure it out somehow. And I don't know. Maybe there's
daytime in the polar circle under the system rules, but nighttime seems like unmanageable.
Infinite Sabbath. Yes. Nonstop infinite Sabbath. I feel like they would probably have a schedule of like average times to just, think that it's like, okay, about now would be the time to start it. But on a technicality level, you are in a place where there is no sundown. That's a really good. You would be good at that. That's solid.
I'm sorry. I'm laughing at something totally different. Paige just came home from errands, and both of the pets were dead ass asleep until she walked in the door, and she's trying to make herself a salad, and both of them are just screaming at her nonstop as soon as I started the podcast.
Yes. Yes. Get screamed at. Yeah. No, that's good technicality, good question. I don't know. That one's for
you guys never did any of that, like you can't pick up a phone or turn off the oven shit, did you?
None of that. Eating food and living your life and doing what you have to do normally is fine. It was just, on the seventh day God rested, therefore we should have a day of rest too. And that's kind of the end of the thought. Anyway, it's been gray all day.
Could you have like written into the Bible, like, and
no, but go on.
The seventh day God shit posted dank memes all night, and that would like.
I mean, you can't write anything in. However, if you're making memes that encourage people to turn to the good book and to give their lives to Christ, then that would be allowed. If it's dank but also encouraging that they kneel at the cross, then yeah, that would totally be allowed. God memes is definitely okay.
Oh man. I just typed in Christian memes and I'm getting very good memes.
Oh yeah, no, Facebook has been that. Facebook has been a bunch of but they're all really snarky, They're all really like, y'all atheists say this, but then this doesn't make any sense. Whatever.
Like
I don't know.
A picture of a banana.
Yeah, just exactly, Explain this then without God, and it's that kind of energy, which is not the same thing.
Are you familiar with the old-fashioned, the banana, the Australian guy, the atheist's nightmare video, in which he like holds up a banana and then shows off like perfect, fits the hand,
yes,
delicious,
yes,
nutritious.
Yes.
It's even got a peel, a pop to top.
Yes.
And like I always thought that was funny for one reason, because like it's ridiculous. And then I learned the second reason why it's ridiculous is that every single part of the banana is man-made. It is a completely manufactured, not real fruit. In fact, the original banana is completely dead of like a fucking plague.
Oh, yes.
We're stuck on tier 2 bananas.
The Dole banana is the only one because the plague wiped out all the rest in the 70s, yeah.
But I have recently discovered the third reason why that's hilarious. Because when you have a banana and the stem's at the top and you peel the stem off, that's the wrong way to peel a banana. I was not aware that monkeys
they
who
do it
are
backwards.
pro with bananas just pinch the bottom
Way
and
easier.
the fucking thing unfolds like a flower, and I ate a banana that way, and I was like, oh man,
Yeah.
those monkeys know what they're doing with
Like-
this banana shit.
Every peel of a banana is like an extra step that you don't need, because when you pinch the bottom and split it immediately opens the whole thing. Totally. But I was present. I remember a big, what you call revival is when you have a large connected group of like a weekend that's planned when like a pastor will come and have like a, in this case it was a broadcasted program meant to go to a number of churches, like hundreds of churches around North America. And it's all watching the same program in order to get the numbers up and whatever. And the big thing there was they did an anti-evolution episode, and that was one Saturday where we sat down and the pastor was basically like, I have a list of like definitive proof that says like this is why evolution can't exist. And I remember the examples he gave, and like one of them was the big before the big closer there was the eyeball, which was it was introduced as a single perfect seeing machine that if you take away any of the rods, if you take away any single element of it, it falls apart and doesn't work. But you can't have useless evolution. Therefore, the eyeball had to be created perfectly.
Did he bust out the Darwin quote where Darwin's like, "Oh man, the eyeball could never have been made by chance."
Yeah, and then like there was a whole thing about like there's adaptation but there's no evolution, and it's like, for example, the saltwater crocodile and the freshwater crocodile adapted in the last couple hundred years, and we saw it happen, so that happens, but over the long term, no way. And then the eyeball was used, showing the exactly each element, which you then later can go find out it's like, yeah, it obviously doesn't start that way. There's bumps and light sensors that then
and also
you can go through
like
iterations on.
Like my favorite thing of like humans as like the evolved apex is like problems with our organs that are congenital due to our bipedal nature.
Useless tails.
Like our fucking assholes being right next to our fucking reproductive organs. Like that's gross and bad for contamination. Like
Appendix.
our fucking eyeballs are shit, by the way. They can fail in 100 different ways.
So the other example was the octopus, or the squid, where same thing. Like if you take away any of the parts of the squid, then it would just wouldn't be able to swim or survive. It would just be immobile, but the whole structure works in such a perfect way that it all had to be created intelligently and designed as such.
What? You could hack off like 6 octopus arms and it'd be fine.
You take away one thing, and that's what they said. Or was it might have been the jellyfish, but it was something like that, something along those lines, where it was the whole thing had to exist, otherwise it couldn't work. And then the closer, the big one, was the bomb blast beetle, which is the beetle that spews burning acid.
Okay.
And basically,
that's pretty wild. Didn't know about that one.
It spews burning acid that's like, it reaches a ridiculous temperature that can like melt through its enemies and shit like that. And it is something that it can't have grown the corrosive acid it spews without the proper layering, but it wouldn't have the layering if it didn't have the acid that was there to cause that to happen. And the whole thing was a big setup to say that there's no way this beetle could have existed with that inside of it without the protections and such, step by step. It had to be created all at once perfectly without killing itself. Oh,
on the wiki article, there's straight up the beetle's unusual defense mechanism is claimed by creationists to be an example of what they call irreducible complexity.
Hey, there we go. Well, you found it. Yeah, that's irreducible complexity. That's it. That's exactly what it was. Totally.
It could never be less complicated than this. I don't know, man.
Irreducible complexity. is definitive proof. And like I remember after that, it was like a fucking banger album just dropped. Like everybody was hype. They were like, "Oh shit, I can't wait to take this to the water cooler and talk to my friends on Monday and be like, "Did you know?" No, you didn't. Because now I've got some definitive shit, and it was just completely and utterly wrong. But how are we supposed to know? Yeah.
I'm shocked. Fun. I'm shocked that you did not bring up my personal favorite like attack point, which is "But were you there though?" Which is my all-time favorite. I'm like, yeah, but dinosaurs and the fossil were you there? Did you see the dinosaurs? No.
Yeah. I mean, though the common one too was like everyone would get really excited. I was trained to get really excited about whenever someone would go, "But carbon dating though," because then you could go, "Aha! But carbon dating is proven bullshit. Look at all these wrong examples. We can't rely on that. It's been inconsistent in all these particular cases. What the fuck is that?" You know, and then it's like, yeah, because you don't follow up and go, but also it's been replaced with tons of other methods that are similar and more accurate. And also you can go look at like cross sections of ice in the world where you can just see the layers and go like, it's clearly longer and been more than 6,000 years, but whatever, don't talk about that part, you know.
I think my favorite part of all this is that even as like a child, like a 9, I want to say I was 9 because I was in Cub Scouts, and the Cub Scouts was associated with our local church. And so every now and then you had to we would have events in the church, so there'd be a preacher around, that kind of thing. And I wasn't talking to the preacher, I was just talking to another kid, and I was like, well, but the scientist says that the dinosaur, yada, 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 right?
Of course, dinosaurs on the ark.
You're just believing the scientists just like I'm just believing my reverend. Like, what's the difference, right? And I'm like, well, I mean, at that point, I'm a child, so yeah, I am taking it on faith. But scientists gave me the internet and my PlayStation.
Yeah, no,
like
science is just another religion is a huge talking point that's still used. It's a huge one.
Things.
Because it's like, yeah, but you have faith in things you don't understand. You don't understand how the camera that's shooting you now works, but you just believe what they tell you about how it works. Therefore, it's like, okay, sure, I guess, but
if the Catholic Church had invented the Xbox, things would be looking good.
Yeah, no. Instead, they invented some fucking wildly radical ways to torture people. Insanely creative on that.
Yeah, a lot of brain energy going into the repentance box.
Well, because there was a thing I learned about that was like, you know, the period of time in which people believed that the more you suffered, the more holy you were getting, the more divine you were getting, and the more pure it would be when you died, meant that people would get super hyped for you.
Like the Protestant work ethic and all that shit afterwards.
So like public torture would happen and people would get way hyped on it, but they'd also be like so happy for you that you're suffering so much because your payoff would be that much greater.
Yeah, because like beatdowns in the real world count like 100 timesies that of purgatory or what have you. So you're basically just skipping the line by doing it before you die.
Getting crushed by the wheel, you're so fucking lucky. You know?
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, poggers.
There were people were pog champing at public executions back in the day. They were.
I'm just thinking, I'm just thinking that, like, I mentioned if the Catholics had invented the Xbox, and I'm like, Halo's pretty blunt, actually, with John Halo 117.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta deal with the Covenant.
Mm-hmm.
and the flood and all that shit. That's
Yeah.
pretty blunt.
I was sitting waiting for the arc. Like, that's,
And you got it.
And you get it. Only on Xbox. The device that was only made available if you explicitly did not believe. Or at the very least, if you had a system of questioning and upgrading, So,
hey,
anyway.
Wooly, do you remember the Halo 3 ad campaign?
Yeah. Talk to that old man. Like a veteran.
What was that old man's lesson to you?
Wasn't it that, like, never forget that he saved us all?
It was believe.
Believe.
That was the ad campaign.
Yeah.
Believe in John Halo 117, the Jesus.
Yeah.
What is John? I'm gonna look that up. What is John 117?
I mean, I don't...
For the law was given by Moses, but grace and truth came from Jesus.
There is always... It's nothing particular. There's always a whole bunch of, like, different takes on, like, what does it mean when we find dinosaur bones? And everyone's got their own thing on it. I remember there's a point where my brother went to join a excavation crew to dig up dinosaur bones and like see it for himself type of thing. And yeah, and like, it's just that everyone has different takes on it, because there's no major consensus on what this big problem of these skeletons don't make sense in the narrative. What do they mean? There's no consensus on what that is, but some people, I remember, were just like, no, they're putting them together wrong. That's not the shape they're supposed to be in.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, there was
big one piece skull.
Yep, totally. No, you're just putting them back together
one.
wrong. Yeah, that was one
I've
of
heard
the
two competing ones. I've heard Devil put them in the floor to fuck with you, which is awesome. And my preferred one is that's the Leviathan. The Leviathan was a dinosaur, and that's proof that they were actually mentioned in the Old Testament and whatnot. And they were all over the place. They're just not a big part of the biblical story.
Okay. The other one,
they just all died out in the flood.
Yeah, that okay, so the other one that I was going to say is like they were evil animals that were not allowed on the ark.
Yeah. They weren't allowed on the ark. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. They did not heed the call to go in once it was built, So who knows? Who knows really?
They didn't heed the
Yeah.
So like in that like piece of art of like the T-Rex looking at the Stegosaurus at the meteor coming down, and he goes, "Oh no, the economy." In the background of
what
that
you don't
shot
see
is Moses on the ark going, "God, come on, get in."
Giant boat, 300 cubits by 50 cubits, sitting on the mountain, waiting for you, and or not sitting. It's not yet anyway, because the flood hasn't started, so there's no Sinai landing. But yeah, they're not heeding the call. He tried his best, but they wouldn't do it.
I love it. I love it. It's good.
All right,
it's good stuff. What you do with your week, man?
Okay, so yeah, a couple things, I guess. Hopped back on the stream, and I started Deltarune Chapter 2.
How do you like the Deltarune Chapter 2? Didn't
finish it, but so far, so good. It's pretty fantastic. It's hilarious. I love Toby's sense of humor and timing. Like, there's some bits that just land really, really well. In particular, the one where the NPC that you meet that's just like, hey, got any advice for someone who's really depressed, sad, and isolated? So for a friend, that someone that looks and it kind of sounds exactly like me, but not me though. It's just for a friend. And then the door opens up and some guy's looked right there that looks like him. Is like, it's for me, and he's got like a goofy face. You know, like that shit's hilarious.
The Queen and Birdley fucking totally
Amazing.
steal the show.
They're great. They're great.
The Queen has some of just the absolute just best pops I've seen in a game ever, and her all caps single spaced method of speaking worked really well for me as I've watched a shit zillion Quiet Shy videos, and I was able to just transplant that robo voice and attitude directly onto the character. Don't eat that.
There's it's caps on each word, no punctuation, just even spaced, kind of like robotically delivered attitude. I feel as well like I forget, but in each game there's been one of those moments of just like, again, no punctuation, character just kind of suddenly floating off screen going bye. You know, like those moments are great. And the impression I'm getting, considering how much focus so far has been placed on Noelle and Birdley, it makes me think like, 7 chapters is more than enough time to spend finding out about and hanging out with all these new overworld characters that we were introduced to in chapter 1, except in the Deltarune underworld of them, you know?
Yeah.
So the classroom, the Undyne cop, all of the, you know, like Flower Gardener Dad, all of them. I feel like we're going to have a moment or a chapter for each to see what they look like when they go into that other world.
Yeah, and you're going to go through like every single kid in that classroom. Like 100%. Did you run into the boss fight that crawls out of a dumpster?
Yes.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Spamton, G. Spamton.
Weird shit. Don't know what that's about.
Best. You don't know what that's about? That is like the fucking, like, id of the internet coming at you.
It's internet energy, yes. But like, I just mean to say, like, if I'm curious to see if that goes anywhere or if it doesn't.
It does. As long as you're a big shot. Are you a big shot?
That was great. Not to and as well as Birdley just having that Falco energy all about his costume.
I was talking to Paige right before we started our stream, and we were both like chuckling that he looks like Falco, but like in the classroom, only to start the fucking thing up and have him just literally become Falco.
Yeah. So that's great so far. We still got to finish it off, but you know, charming is all hell, and you know, like that the system is still pretty interesting, and you're just like walking into area after area, and you're hearing like banger track after banger track. So I'm gonna finish it off this week, but yeah, so far fucking amazing.
I feel remiss in not mentioning to you, Wooly, as I know you, and you will probably want to go through it a second time to see, because the first one had no variation of anything, no matter what. It was almost comical in how much it didn't allow you to change anything. This one has a significantly different series of events that have unique gameplay.
So I've been told. I heard that there's 3 or so unique runs you can do, and there's also unique stuff that comes on whether or not you continued your save file from chapter 1 or whether you started fresh.
Yeah,
so that's cool.
There is a couple callbacks, a couple little extras if you brought in an old save data.
Also, intelligently, they've designed a like Outer Heaven, like Fulton subsystem that is like an incentive to spare people.
Which, like, we got all the way to the end and didn't see a single like tangible result from that,
Hmm.
which makes me think that it's going to be one of those things that builds up over like 6 chapters.
Exactly. Yeah, they're planting the seeds for a giant cool town that is going to be either your doing or not, and
Yeah.
obviously that makes it more of a personalized story, because if you decide to have a completely empty town, you made that decision, and now you know exactly what it's going to result in. So, I mean, there was a hint of that energy with like, I think the end of chapter 1 with like the overthrowing and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool. More to say once it's done. I also played some good old Among Us Arena.
What? Ah! Did you use the announcer of that guy who hates Among Us memes?
I did not, because there is no announcer in the game.
Oh, must have been a recent update.
But that is a really fun, simple-ass game in which you have a giant character select screen of colors, and it's just colors, and all it changes is your taunt.
Oh, okay.
But everything else is the same.
So it's got perfect 5-5 matchups all the way around.
All the way through. Some taunts actually create, like, hitboxes, though. So maybe there's a slight balance on that. Whoever has the most useful taunt, maybe, But yeah, we did play a bit of that. Tried to make a room called Woolly Very Sus, and couldn't get any connections, unfortunately.
That's highly sus, Wooly.
There you go, Sussy Baka. But the game's fun. It's fun, and it reminds me of a couple other simplified one character kind of matches we've had in some other games recently. We played head to head, which was like a kind of similar thing. We played a game called Bear Sus not long ago, and it's just like one character, a whole bunch of tools you can use to like be tricky and be aggressive if you want to be, or defensive if you want to be, and then you just fucking play it out, and then it just becomes about like reading the mind of the opponent, as it were. So yeah, Among Us Arena is pretty fun. I would like to see, like, I'm surprised at like how it just kind of came out of nowhere in such a semi-complete state.
Mm-hmm.
Only thing I think that you'd need to really do at this point would just be like maybe add some supers just for fun, but the essential bits are all there, and yeah, it's pretty solid. I just think it'd be cool to have like some supers where, again, a universal system for the characters, but maybe you can like throw it on a vent and then hop into it to teleport, let someone out the airlock.
No actual imposter system or whatever. It's just everybody has the imposter abilities.
Exactly. Yeah, okay. Yeah. And yes, I know that's the second time I've seen Dash Zero coming in going, I don't know about supers, but I think you can do it in a way that wouldn't ruin everything. I think you can do it in a way that it just adds a little bit of fun, and it just adds a little bit of like, a little bit of spice to the fun of the game that's already there, You don't have to go crazy with it. It doesn't have to be a balance ruining Shinku Hadoken or something like that. Just a little spice you can do once per round to have a fun finisher or something like that, That'd be cool, because yeah, the things you think of with Among Us are like the airlock, the emergency button, the vents, the tasks. It'd be fun to like find a way to implement that in some non-intrusive way.
Somebody in our chat is pointing out that apparently it was made in a single week by one person.
Yeah, that's
very
crazy.
Impressive.
All I remember is the tweet that said, "Hey, I may have made an Among Us fighting game. I don't know, LOL." And then like just put out an itch.io, and it's like, here it is.
I tell you what, by the way, this is a bit of an aside. Dog wipes, not just good for dogs, also pleasant to wipe your face with.
There you go. Baby wipes, not just good for babies. Yeah. Just make sure you don't get the alcoholic ones that burn you.
No, I don't like that. No.
Yeah, so Among Us Arena worth a gander. And I believe it has rollback too. I believe it has like
the rollback stuff has become like I don't want to go too into it, but like the game made for no money in 4 days having rollback, but this shit $zillion thing not having it has become like
it's a meme
parody.
Yeah, absolutely. Played some of that. Hopped back onto Strive just to warm back up a little bit because, didn't get... like, Jacko came out just as we were, like, pretty much leaving for the wedding. And I got to see a little bit, and I've been eyeballing some footage, but didn't get to touch the game. So jumping back onto Strive, it was nice to just get the feel of it again and warm back up. She's got some pretty interesting stuff. Like, she doesn't seem like she's a beast of a character, but I've seen some tech, and Sonic Fox has posted some really dirty mix-ups that she can do, and it's cool to see. I like I think there's a couple different ways that a DLC can drop for a fighting game, and what you don't want, or what I don't want, is the Mortal Kombat style. Every time a piece of DLC comes out, that is going to dominate the meta, and it's going to be the strongest character in the game, bar none, and too fucking bad, and then we'll wind it down later. I have to
say, so I'm torn, actually, about that, because there's 2 issues with that. One is... it's really hard to perfectly balance a fighter before their actual release. And it's way easier to make them stronger than it is to make them shittier. Yes. I remember when Alex came out for Street Fighter V, and I was so excited, and he was just not good. And it was a massive bummer because it took like months for him to get like some buffs. On the other thing is like, good way to have everybody buy your new character.
Well, that's what I was going to say is like, so you have Tekken with all the DLC that came out that was really strong compared to the rest of the cast. You have that happening to some degree in Dragon Ball. You had that happening, again, Mortal Kombat being one of the most outrageous examples. Yun and Yang back in AE, Street Fighter 4 2012. Like, there's a bunch of these examples where you're like, Tinfoil Hat says... buy the new character if you want to win, and then they'll get nerfed later, So
I don't think that's tinfoil hat. I'm pretty sure if we dig for 5, maybe 10 minutes, we'll find a direct quote from somebody going, "We like to make the characters Iori with the power flames." They straight up said they made him super strong so that people would buy him because Iori was already in the game.
There was another example,
13,
and I think Yun and Yang as well were actually they actually specifically, I think it was Ono who said like, yeah, we wanted them to be strong so it would be exciting, and then it would create some feelings about the game, like it was a deliberate thing. They did mention that there too. So yeah, I don't like that approach to it, and the approach where the character is useless obviously sucks. Don't do that, but between the two, like, for example, when Gold Lewis came out, he was interesting but underwhelming to a lot of people, and I'll take that and then see him get some stuff that he needs later over the game destroyer until next patch,
Well, game destroy, because it's always weird because it depends on how far apart your tiers are in your game anyway. So let's take Guilty Gear as an example. A character can come out and be really, really, really good, like possibly overpowered, as long as they're not the most overpowered character in the game. I can't see too many complaints.
Yeah.
Right? So as long as like Jacko didn't come out and was also another brain dead Unga Bunga hit triangle character,
so
couldn't see too many complaints.
I think a nice medium there is, for example, like Samurai Showdown has had DLC from its launch that has been all of it has been like, oh, there's some really strong characters here, or normal characters that have a thing that could feel like it's busted, you know, but then otherwise you can fight them. It's there's like a feeling of like, oh, this new thing has been introduced to the game that wasn't there before, and you have to take a minute and go, holy shit, wait, how do I deal with that? But then once you learn how to deal with that, it's back to being normal, you know. Shizumaru came out and was like super duper strong, fightable, manageable, but really, really fucking strong. And then similar, like Warden came with a bunch of the guard stance cancels. I forgot his name. With the pillar that would cross you up. Like Baiken now as well. Like tons of examples of like, okay, this character is going to be normal, but they have one thing that you need to be afraid of, and if you don't learn about how to deal with it, you're going to eat it and fucking die. I think in Fighters in Dragon Ball, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, or
yeah,
it might have
I heard people complaining.
Like he has an instant kill thing, where it's like literally doesn't matter. Like there's a if you let him build up this kind of like taunt meter, there's a built-in touch of death, you know. So it's just like learn how to deal.
Freaks like Bayonetta and Leroy.
Yes. Bayonetta. Yeah. Smash had that, though. Every Smash character, DLC-wise, was dominating. I remember from the moment Piranha Plant came out, and people were like, oh my god, Piranha Plant's really strong, you know? And then it felt like, yeah, like, and then the weekend that Hero dropped, and people were just looking at the random abilities and freaking out at, like, how quickly you could die if the hero gets lucky on those.
It's in Smash players' nature to become, you know, excitable.
I remember there was a couple of them, Joker, and then even when Ryu dropped, when Cloud dropped, you know, a lot of these characters came out and were like it seemed to be, from an outside point of view, the topic of conversation for a while, you know. If Piranha Plant ended up being bad, then I again, I don't know. I'm just talking about what I was observing from the outside, you know. Yeah, but anyway, so that's how it feels with Jacko. We'll see what becomes of the rest of this list, but so far I enjoy this, like this thing. You don't have to worry about like the destruction of the balance there, and just make sure you learn what this character does and like learn how to deal with it.
We're going to have a really fun discussion about balance in not next podcast and not the podcast after that, but on Monday the 18th, we're going to have a really fun discussion about balance, because after that is when the 14 character changes like get known in detail. And it's fascinating when I think about the balance of, say, a fighting game character versus something like this, where they're like super long running classes. How the way that like a shooter or a MOBA or an MMO can get balanced compared to something like a fighting game is fascinating, because like I've seen classes go through full scale reworks on every release of a new retail product. Like Monk has never been the same class ever. It's changed every time. And like if you did that to like Ryu, people would lose their fucking minds. You'd have to put him in a new game for that to actually play.
So technically that does happen to Ryu, but it happens through the system of the game. The system of the game makes Ryu stronger or weaker a lot of the time. Although sometimes they just
same buttons. It's just now Shoryus aren't quite as good. So,
but also there's that patch not long ago where they literally just made Ryu a beast. So you know, it does happen. But yeah, I would say like with what just happened with Strive 1.09, they successfully did flatten the tier list. You know, they did move things closer together and created reasons to be afraid of like people who, you know, weren't really tearing it up. Like Eno is insane with her flight, and Axel's annoying, but now he's got that ability to combo into one vision time stop. You know, all that little stuff is there, and I would say that that's a successful balance patch, and they said that there's more that's coming. With 14, though, I would assume that you're not just balancing classes against each other, you're balancing them around, like, how a raid functions.
The upcoming 2 years of encounter design, 18 months of which have not been made yet.
So that's the thing, yeah. It feels like for an MMO, you're factoring in so much more than just a PvP element.
Oh, PvP, they finally gave up. I want to say it was Shadowbringers. Might have been a little earlier. They just straight up gave up on the attempt of unified PvP balancing, and the classes in PvP are completely different. Like, yeah, it's a paladin, and it has the same moves, but they all have completely different numbers,
effects,
and timings,
and things. Okay.
and shit attached to them. Like, because they ran into the issue that balancing them simultaneously is impossible. It's a problem that Destiny has had as well, where Destiny will take a gun that's really dominant in PvP and nerf it, and people that don't play competitive multiplayer in Destiny go, but that was the gun I used for the raid, and now it sucks for the raid. Why the fuck did you nerf it? I don't care about I don't care about, like, trials or whatever the fuck.
So, if you went through a lot of trouble to build your character a specific way, and then those abilities you have are garbage in the PvP, that would be really annoying.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm thinking about how, like, Pokemon, like Stadium, for example, they'd be like, hey, here it is, everyone's level 50 or so, play with a cast that's everyone's around that level, and they have more or less the default abilities, and that's the flattening of, like, every Pokemon that you can fight with type of thing. But you didn't have to suffer to get a particular gun or a particular build going, that has now been handed to you that's useless. So
I had what might be, like, the most, like, one of the big bullets in my heart of playing Destiny was that I decided to go get a gun called the Last Word, which was a hip-fire revolver. So no aim-down sights, you just fire it from the hip like an old-fashioned shooter.
Big show.
I went down the quest line, and I worked on it for 4 or 5 days, and I got the Last Word, and I went and played some multiplayer matches, and it was a ton of fun, and I was like, fuck yeah. And then I went on Twitter and said, dude, I just got the Last Word. This gun's a blast. And the first reply was, they're nerfing it tomorrow. And I went, what? I'm like, yeah, they're toning it down so that you have to hit with 4 bullets instead of 3 to kill. And then I played it tomorrow, and it, like, literally just wasn't the same. And I was like, I can't believe they'll do this in a game that also requires you to spend this amount of time to get the fucking item in the first place. I was so upset. And, like, I'm sure a lot of folks will say, like, it's still good. Like, that's not the point. I got to experience what it was, and I worked for the version that it was what it was. And got to play with it for 2 matches before it got nerfed into the dirt.
Yeah, good job, idiot. You fucking, just punishing you for all that time. I feel like so there was a really interesting thread that popped up on the subreddit not too long ago. That might have been like yesterday or so. That was like, I think it was like, I think Wooly might dig Halo Infinite, and it was footage of a dude just using the grappling hook and then sniping in midair and then grappling and then coming down with the fucking hammer. And I was like, ooh, that cool. Tingles. That tingles all the right feelings in my brain.
I don't know how to feel about Halo Infinite, because to my knowledge, that team has never made a good Halo game. It's just kind of a problem.
Wait, what did I play? What did I play that they made? No, I didn't.
Yeah, they didn't.
They started at 4, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't play any of theirs. Yeah.
4 is like middling, and then 5 is so bad that when they said we're bringing every Halo game to PC, they're like, including Infinite, they're like, yeah, except for 5, we're not even gonna bother.
Yeah.
That's like shit.
But what I like, the thing about that though is that, like, one, first of all, the first thing that comes to mind is Bionic Commando 2009 multiplayer, because that was the last game I remember that, like, not the last game, rather, that was the first game I remember where, like, swing to sniping to midair snipe was like a thing that was super sick. And then of course Titanfall came and just like that was the end all be all, you know. But there was an interesting discussion that was popping up because some people in the comments were describing how, like, playing Halo, the hammer was a very rarely situationally useful thing that would be, like, you know, worthless most of the time, but in this particular instance, it's great to have it on you, and experts could use it. But now, by adding grappling, it changes it to something that's very useful because you have vectors of attack that you otherwise wouldn't have. The grappling is very limited. You don't have a ton of you don't have infinite grapple, but it turns the whole setup into a viable one, but it's one that departs from what Halo is and becomes more Titanfall, essentially. You know, so there's a discussion about, like, yeah, it's cool and yeah, it's fun, but is this what you want in your pure Halo multiplayer experience? And I'm like, I don't know. Give me the fucking grapple hammer snipe shit. I want that. You're
never gonna get a pure multiplayer, a Halo multiplayer experience because, like I remember watching footage of people, like reaction stuff of people to the Infinite reveal, and like the instant that a sprint button got hit. Like, people just immediately were like, "Fuck it, I don't care anymore."
Oh, and I liked it so much playing the campaign of Reach. I really Reach. Yeah, the sprint in Reach. I was like, this feels great. I really enjoyed it.
I can completely understand why people don't like sprint in those games, even though sprint is a fun button to hit. It does, particularly in multiplayer, make it so that you need to adjust map sizes for faster movement, and then that changes, like, the shape of the way maps work in a way that I personally don't feel strongly one way or the other. But if you really like that old Halo classic map feel, then yeah, it's a total bummer.
Although, just out of curiosity, doesn't the fact that vehicles exist that are always faster than you on foot?
No.
Then
because indoor maps and whatnot.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I unfortunately just I can't say I don't know enough about that, but I feel as if you know, if there is shit that's faster than you that you can mount and hop on and then ride that in the battle, then, you know, then it wouldn't be too bad. But I guess there's areas where it's on foot only. All right, well.
I'm interested in checking that out once it finally comes out, and then playing on it and being like, wow, I guess I like Halo, and just like me, I guess this is what I've been missing the whole time. Man, Halo really was good all along, and just having people in the background just be like, no, but it's...
Yeah, I mean, you know, that clip got my attention, and if it didn't have what it had, then it wouldn't get my attention. So, as someone who doesn't have the full attachment, and from going through all the Halo games now, I've done very little to almost none of the multiplayer. Like, I've only had a lore attachment, you know, made.
Well, competitive multiplayer, you've played through all the campaigns in co-op, right?
Yes, but I mean, I mean competitive multiplayer. Like, I've only got, like, memories of playing it back in the day with, like, you know, nephews and shit, and then, like, the couple of matches we did that 1 or 2 days on the stream. But that's a whole side of the game that's, you know, very, very important, and you know, I'm the kind of person that feels like, even if it affects the balance in a way, if it feels cool, I like the idea of a sprint, I think you should design around it. You know? Make the thing that feels cool be there, and then design around it is what I would want the multiplayer adaptations of these things to look like. You know? There's a jetpack. There's a fucking shield. There's all these cool abilities that are.
Well, I have a question for you, and I'm going to use the word sprint specifically because I want to try and like engage you emotionally more than logically. Would you feel the same way if we were literally just talking about Street Fighter?
Okay.
And saying there's no dashes anymore. It's all sprinting.
That turns it into KOF. That changes a lot of what Street Fighter is. But Street Fighter EX exists, and
I think that okay, good. That's the exact point I'm making.
Yeah.
And it's like because I can understand why people look at that and go,
yeah,
but that's not Halo.
But also picking an SNK groove in CVS2, you could feel a little bit of what it would be like to play Street Fighter with a run. You know?
It was weird.
It is,
like,
but
it was bizarre.
But it's not. But it doesn't shut the whole showdown for me. You know, it's a change that is like, okay, if you're doing that and that's a deliberate thing, then let's see how we build around this idea. You know, if we're willing to. And of course, every Street Fighter that departs from every Street Fighter that departs from whatever it was before is going to be complained about, and then the last game that everyone hated is going to be loved. When Street Fighter 6 comes out, everyone's going to talk about how great 5 was, in the same way that everyone's going to talk about how great 4 was, even though they hated it compared to 3.
How great 2 was.
It is an unending series of...
Well, no, it ends there. Nobody was sitting around talking about how great 1 was.
No, but the versions ST into Champ and all that shit.
I'm fascinated by Halo Infinite because I've never gotten more warning signs that a game is going to be a mess for a big budget thing than this. Like the delay after delay after delay to like their campaign and multiplayer shipping like 6 months to a year apart. And stuff like that, and 343 is making it like, oh man.
Last thing on the run is, if it's something that you can choose to have access to as like a kit loadout thing. For example, Exism didn't have air blocking in Alpha 3.
Yeah, that felt busted.
But if you want to do that, if you want to give different loadouts to characters and choose what you like the feel of, so you want that dash, fine, you can have it. Then that's another way of approaching it too, you know?
They did that already. That was in Reach. You could pick sprint, or you could pick stuff like armor lock.
Yeah,
or
that's
some of the
jetpack. That's what that's what I was making reference to. Yeah. You absolutely you replaced your sprint with other abilities. And like, I remember I'd be like, there's a lot of cool ones, and I loved Armor Lock because the animation is fucking sick and you can tank a hit and it's super cool. But yeah, I'd love running back to sprint. It just feels nice, you know? Anyway. That's that with balancing. Yeah, I mean, got some kiting in yesterday, had a good time. It was pretty fun. Got to try out some of the ones I didn't get to. Got to experience some of the control of the real hefty lift kites, the power kites and such. It's
how big of a difference is that?
Huge. So, let's say I was using, for example, a trainer kite that was like a 220 grade, and then I switched to like a 250. And the 220 is like a full body pull when the wind is strong, right? I went out to the park. It was a windy day. It was nice, clear skies. And it was a good strong pull where I'd have to put my muscles into it at the zenith of where it was pulling me. But when I switched to the 250, it was partially lifting me off the ground. Like, I had to lean full body, to get it like where I wanted to go at times. So you can choose the larger ones, because the larger ones, it's essentially a parachute, right?
Yeah.
Your basic, and it has the same tech as a parachute as well. So,
you mean a cloth in the wind?
It's not just a cloth in the wind. So, parachute.
There is a string. I am aware.
It's more than just a cloth and a string. It's actually inflating itself. There's 2 layers of fabric and a vent in between that fills up with air. So it's actually more like a little flat balloon, like a float, you know? It's not just one layer of fabric and strings attached. When you have the 2 layers and the air in between, it has so much more strength and power and resistance. So the trainer kites had those on them, and like you really got a good like you have to fight the wind at some points, and when you crash, it hits the ground fucking hard, and you hear a loud thud. And I was originally having some trouble with it because I knew how to use the regular kites, but those ones were, again, they're the kind that kite surfers use. So we were kind of like using it and doing it improperly, and just some nice dude just comes out of nowhere and goes, "Hey guys, do you need some help?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, sure. We don't know what we're doing. You know, it's really my first time trying out this kind of kite." And he's like, "Yeah, no worries. I'm a kite instructor that went at a kite school. I can help you guys figure out how to do this." And I'm like, "Yeah!" So we met a little random kite angel that just showed up out of nowhere, and he gave us some key tips. You know, one really important one is for this kind of kite we were using, you don't get to semi-uncoil the string. You have to fully unwind it. So you have to be at max distance, and then it starts to make sense, you know? I was trying to keep it shorter to avoid, you know, possibly hitting anybody around, because you're in a park, but there's still people out and about. So you want to just keep a nice radius away from everybody. But like he was like, no. For this, you have to fully unwind it, you know? So we had to switch parks and go to a larger one where we could make space. So you know, we kind of were able to do that, but we got some tips from him about how to get a nice figure 8 going, how to get some nice tricks, and it was really cool, you know, like he really helped us out, and then he just walked on his way and had a good day. And I'm like, what are the odds that a kite teacher just wanders in, shows us some tricks and how to do it, and then wanders out, you know?
I'm gonna say actually more likely than you would expect from a similar kind of activity, because if you're in you were in a nice open park, I assume. Kiting is highly visible.
Yes.
From a really far distance.
I definitely,
like, you know, a couple 100 feet easy.
I definitely don't expect to run into people that are like into kiting as much as people that are into kite surfing, which is much more popular, and then they can give me some of the tips. So that works, because that's what I was using. You know, I also got my whale going up, and man, that thing is beautiful. It really has, it's frameless, so it just kind of fills with the air and floats, and it stays up, never crashed. Once the whale went up, it stayed up until we wanted it down. Can't believe how fucking solid that one is. And I
have what might be like a silly question. You described the 250 as like bordering on lifting your fucking feet off the ground
at the height of it,
like,
yeah,
right? Say the wind is like just really killing it that day.
16 kilometers per hour. You can control it, so you steer it either to okay. Imagine this is specific to power kiting too. Imagine you have a sphere in front of you, right? The area, right? So the area when you're holding onto the kite and it's out in front of you, if you go straight out in front of you at eye level and then go 45 degrees up, that is that's the zenith. That's the power zone where you're going to get the most pull and the most resistance, right? And if you control it and try to keep it there, you're going to get a constant pull. If you pull it straight above your head, 90 degrees, then it gets soft again. It gets weaker. The wind is not going to be blowing into it at that.
Basically, put it directly above your head, and then
put it directly above your head, and you can relax it for a little bit. Or if you're trying to land it, then you want to steer it so eye level, and then like 45 degrees right or 45 degrees left. Like then you can steer it down there, and then you can get a soft landing. But you know, because I'm a beginner, I'm just crashing it basically, and taking that as the landing. You know. It's great. It's super cool.
As long as it doesn't fly away, that I'm sure that's a victory.
No, and it won't, because again, these ones that are not just like, hey, look at the pretty thing in the sky. These things are like sporting things. Like you got a body workout. There's footage of a dude like leaning back like Dio style, getting dragged a little bit using his just like full body to pull it. So. But what happens is if you ever completely lose control of it and you're just like, this is too much, I can't handle it, there's a wrist strap attached to it that is attached to the bar. And the moment you let go of the bar, the whole thing just falls. So there's a safety feature that essentially means like it's pulling you, you can't control it, it's too much. You just let go of the bar, and that'll lopside the strings and cause the whole thing to just come straight down. But the wires will tangle themselves, and you'll spend the next like half an hour untangling the wires, you know?
More importantly, it's not going to drag you off, say, a cliff.
No. So first of all, you'd be an idiot to do it near one. But
but it'd be really cool.
Okay, so there's a second layer of emergency as well. So the first layer of emergency is let go of the bar, the strap will be on your wrist, it'll fall down, you can go retrieve it, no problem. The second layer is if you are being personally dragged in a direction that you can't let go of and that you can't resist or whatever, you can pull a tab on your wrist and it'll detach the whole thing from you. And then it'll just fall off and go elsewhere. But, like, you don't want to risk anyone else, obviously.
It'll go on its way and become a villain in that Junji Ito fucking nightmare story with the balloons.
Sure. So you don't want to pull the tab unless you really, really give up on what's happening, you know? But just letting go of the bar, letting the safety harness kick in is enough, you know? But that same kite teacher did tell me about how he got a kite came down on the back of his neck, and he got a huge bruise across his shoulder and neck because, like, yeah, it lands with force, you know? Like, it's not a joke. So those kites, you gotta be those kites, and like a couple of the others that are that fast and two-handed, you gotta really be careful with. So I'm gonna be learning about that stuff. I got some stuff on the mail coming, some better reels. I got a stunt kite on the way, and some cool tails. I can't wait for it. Really, really excited.
So this gentleman explained to you a situation in which he was struck by a kite.
Yes.
And in an earlier conversation, you described battle kites that essentially are kites with knives attached to them. So there's a non-0% chance that you may come into this podcast with a self-inflicted kite-based stab wound.
Well, first of all, I don't have the confidence to get into kite fighting just yet.
Not yet, you don't.
If ever. But secondly, after talking about them, I've learned from various places about the different customs and the different ways they go about it. Like, again, lots of countries have cool kite traditions, and some places do it way more dangerously than others. I found out about the WOW kites in Malaysia, which are larger than a car, that make huge noises, and they launch them into the air, and they're fucking crazy, massive things. You know, if something like that comes down on you, you're gonna take a lick or two. You're gonna take some beatings. But the one that most people let me know about was in Brazil. How so the kite fighting is different. There's some places where the kite itself has the blade, and there's some places where the string has the cutting. And so the string will be coated with glass and fine broken powders and sharp things to make the string as sharp as possible, right? And when they play, they fight and go for a string on string cut. And that's the shit that gets insane, because apparently in Brazil, a kite got cut during one of these battles, and then the string came down on a motorcyclist and killed him. Right in the head. Near decapitation.
Cool.
So that's the shit you don't want to do. And then they banned it, and then people had to, like, I heard about someone
underground, which is ironic considering kiting doesn't work very well underground.
I mean, someone described a helmet that has like a thing sticking out that's like an antenna to stop anything that's like that. Like, if you're doing it where someone might be on a motorcycle with the string being that dangerous that's crazy. That's fucking insane. You know what I mean?
Sounds cool though.
But it's just like, yeah, I would never in a million. That's like
cool though.
Yeah, so that's like, hey, you know what's cool? Fighting games, but like there's a gun attached to my arcade stick, and it's pointing at you.
That is like, cool.
Like, just I'm not. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not here to fucking have the fun with my kite, and then also there's a gun attached. Like, I'm not here for that. Like, fuck off. If I'm gonna ever try any of the dueling kite things, it'll be the kite itself, and it'll be empty field with literally nothing or anyone around in the vicinity of where the kites themselves are. You know?
You know what's great about an empty field with no one around? No one can see what really happened.
I see.
In the kiting duel.
There you go. How did the body get here?
It was a freak accident, dude. My kite, it out of control. It stabbed him 35 times.
Yeah, no, and the thing is, if you were to combine the power of like the two-handed kites and the speed of that with like a blade, that's just a weapon. It's not a kite anymore. It's like, if I could show you, like, so there's a guy that has a shop here in Montreal, and he's got some footage of him out in the fields. He's an older dude, and he's trying to make it look cool, so he's got his shades on, and he's doing these little like hand gestures that are like he's trying to make it look really like coordinated and shit, and it's some goofy old shit. But the shit he's doing is making it spin in a really fast circle. He's doing quick figure eights, and then you're doing something that's called a sweep, right? And a sweep is when essentially you make the kite go really high up, and then it nosedives to the ground, turns 90 degrees at the last second, sweeps as far across the horizon as you can go, and then goes back up, like creating a U shape. When it's sweeping across the horizon, it's like, I don't know how fast. I don't want to give it like a kilometers per hour, but it with a blade, that's like murder you fast, like easily. So yeah, don't. Like, that's a weapon. There's no reason for that. We don't need to go there. I just want to enjoy my whale in the sky.
I feel like
my pizza.
I'm listening to you, like, in episode 1 of the Downfall arc that ends with you as, like, one of the Ninja Scroll antagonists.
I mean, listen, I've spent the entire week hearing and watching and reading people that are trying to turn this into something it's not. A lot of people are trying to turn me into they're trying to turn it into like some kind of whatever. They're trying to people are trying to figure out what the lore angle is. Should he become Kite Man? Should this become a death sport?
I mean,
what's the lore angle?
One's just easy.
But there's no lore angle. It's just a simple fun thing that begins and ends with.
If there's no lore angle, then the only remaining option is to descend into complete fantasy.
You're correct.
You know this.
You're correct. Because it begins and ends with the pretty thing in the sky is moving, and now I can control it. Yeah, good kiting day. By the time I got back home, I was definitely like, got a good workout going. It was pretty physical, strenuous at its strongest.
There's no lore angle, says the man who I can directly quote not 2 minutes earlier, saying, if you were able to combine the power of the two-handed ones with a knife, you would have a killing weapon.
which I will never do. Ever. But it would be insanely dangerous. Yeah. So that was me.
Yeah, that sounds good. Hey, if anybody wants to check out more of your stuff, where should they go?
You can head out to Wooly Versus on YouTube and on Twitch. As of this week, Gone in 60 Seconds, Part 10, is now back. That'll be coming out once a week until the season is done. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. It's a fun little thing. It's been a while, but obviously it's back.
I figured you had been watching some Hunter x Hunter, considering your new love of Kite.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. So now I know that the Chimera arc contains some character named Kite who's got a hat and some long hair on it. And I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever.
That's the joke.
We'll find out about this Kite character. Kite. Yeah. I have no feelings about it. I have nothing to say. We'll see whenever that happens. But what I will say is, as far as anyone is there's three camps of people. There's people who just enjoy the ride, and then there's people who are enjoying the ride but concerned or enjoying the ride but are definitely upset about the infrequency of how often this comes out. To which I say, yeah, well, why do you think that is, right? So that's just
because you refuse to watch it
clearly
on your own because you're a baby.
Clearly. So, if you're like, I wish it would happen more often, it's like, well, it should be obvious why it doesn't, and there's nothing we can really do about that. So, that's fine. That's what it is. And in the third camp, and this is the most important.
Not just going to stop being a baby, guys.
In the third camp, I'll say there are those who are combining the above feeling with the, oh man, they're never going to get through it this way. It'll be 2035 before they even get to... Guys, we're just having fun. It doesn't even matter.
Listen, hey.
There are literally... there are episodes that we've discussed and possibly even done stuff with where the show is not even mentioned. Okay?
Listen.
If you're worried about the pace of things, just enjoy the ride. Who cares?
Listen.
Who fucking cares?
If you are worried about the long-form pacing of a piece of content on Wooly's channel, I don't know what to tell you. Who do you think you're watching?
There you go. Right? So that's it.
I remember sitting with some friends and calling down to the week when you'd finished Disco Elysium back in March.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, there's no way. I'm like, you fucking watch. And sure enough, you can math it out.
I mean, you are a long game crushing machine on your stream. You crank them out in a couple days by gunning through with the super long hours on it.
Depends on what. Lost Judgment really taught me a lesson on that.
Because, yeah, it just, our schedules are just really different with how we record and do shit, But if it's, I mean, and sometimes I feel the pain of, something that lasts too long, obviously. But, sometimes I'm like, yeah, but I'd rather do it than not do it, So... Mm-hmm. I'm still figuring out that, but all this to say that and we said it last time too. It's just if you're concerned about that, or if you're concerned about oh, but what about the real review of the episodes and stuff? It's guys, wrong energy. We're just having fun, and you shouldn't be thinking too seriously about that either.
I don't think there's a lot of fun to be had in episode by episode reviews of anything that's not an hour long.
Pretty much. It's absurdity.
I could do episode, and we kind of did when me and Paige and Plague watch TNG and DS9 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Me and Eli are talking shit about the episodes, and we come to a judgment at the end because those are long. Those are 42, 43 minute long things, right? But particularly for a manga adaptation, in a 22-minute episode. Like each particular episode, I mean, they're not being made for television. They're just pieces of what is actually an 8-hour story.
Yeah,
or what have you.
So I don't, it's something that you don't really, it's something that I feel should be self-evident when you watch how silly the shit I'm doing is, but you should clearly see the absurdity and then not go and type, I'm deeply concerned with the pace at which this is going, because it's like, that's the wrong attitude to have. If that's your takeaway from the insanity, you have the wrong attitude.
I don't know. There is one thing that is highly accurate, and that if we're talking about a Hunter x Hunter piece of media, the phrase, I am highly concerned about the pace this is going, is something that would be said often and aloud.
Right. Okay. Well, that's not the goal here. If it's not, if it was the goal, I'd have done it differently. But clearly the goal is to just do some wild shit. And that's it. So, end of story. Anything else is unimportant. That's over on Woolly Versus as well. So, please enjoy. And, we'll, I'll schedule, plans, etc. Gonna finish off Deltarune, probably this week. Not gonna promise all runs, obviously, but definitely going to finish.
Not likely.
Yeah. But that and again, like, Punch Mom does like have a day job, so I can't just be like, hey, come over here, let's do it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like when she can, if she can, we'll figure that out. Plus, she's doing the voices amazingly and fucking killing it on the Ralsei. But that plus SMT will be back. So we'll let you guys know. How about you?
Wooly, have you ever... This is a rhetorical, fake question, by the way. Have you ever heard of a story about a delinquent older man who, through a various series of hijinks, ends up becoming he's walking away. Ends up becoming a teacher at a local high school?
I sure have heard of Great Teacher Onizuka.
Well, I've been playing Lost Judgment, and what I initially thought was a superficial similarity became like overt homage very quickly. Thank you for the dog treat.
Does he start by peeking up the skirts of his 16-year-old students?
Holy shit. I didn't even put it together. The answer is kind of.
What?
The answer is actually kind of.
Wait, what?
Let me break it down. I can't believe it. So, the impetus for the reason why you are going to... This is chapter 1 or 2 in Judgment. The reason why you are going to the school in Lost Judgment at all is because the local principal wants to find out if there is a bullying epidemic at the school.
I recall, yes.
Therefore, you are walking around and you discover that the best idea you guys have is to just plant hidden cameras all over the school to surreptitiously monitor the students, including the boys' bathroom. And near the end of your camera placement, you put it at the middle point of some stairs, and Amasawa, the head of the Mystery Research Club, looks at you and goes, "This motherfucker's putting cameras out here to look up our skirts. That dude's a pedo. Get him." And you have to run away from guards and the gym teacher and escape.
Oh my god. Okay. Because, well, at least it's a misunderstanding as opposed to literally the opening sequence of the story.
Yeah. As I went through it, the moment that it fully clicked in my mind that it was GTO was not beating up the same group of students to hell and death 5 times in one day, only for them to be fine. Or that it was when I discovered the smart girl who had quit school because she was too smart and had been shunned by her classmates,
Oh,
begrudgingly came
really?
back to school to read all the mystery novels. And the only club I could convince her to get into was the robotics club. And I'm like, oh
Wow.
man, this is
Okay.
just like when Onizuka made
Kanzaki.
what was her name? Kanzaki? The
Kanzaki.
blonde,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. Kanzaki.
Hang out with the Gundam nerds on the island. And I was like, wow, okay.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty
So,
fucking direct.
I originally started my streams going, let's do everything in Judgment. And after 3-4 days of that, I'm like, we're not going to be doing everything in Judgment. We're going to be doing just the main storyline only. Because the Yakuza series, I'm calling them RGG now because there's Black Panther and Kenzan and Yakuza and Judgment, and it's like the Soulsborne situation, but like there's too many spin-offs. It's become actually complicated and confusing. So
Ryu
I'm just
Ga
saying RGG.
GTOku. That's pretty good.
So they've always had like a lot of extra content.
Mm-hmm.
Like they've always had like a kind of insane amount of extra content. This one has the most insane amount of extra content that it's ever had. And it is and a huge amount of it is put into the school stories like side quest chain.
Okay.
Which is you become an advisor at the school because delinquency is up and there's a ne'er-do-well and there's a secret plot and there's a mastermind, yada 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 yada. But it is basically an excuse to go down to various clubs and ingratiate yourself, and have that storyline go through.
So I'm good. Like, is there a school festival planning mini game that replaces the landlord collecting shit?
No. What? So I have not even unlocked. So I last played the game on stream on Friday. I have played the game for multiple hours a day, I played the game for about maybe 15 hours. More than I have on stream with just the school stuff, and I'm not even halfway through it. There is legitimately a full extra Yakuza game just made out of this school section.
Oh my god.
So far, I have learned that the dance club has a sugar baby that is scamming older patrons, and we're worried she might get murdered. So I gotta go teach the dance club and get them to regionals in order to find out about the sugar baby. The robotics club is doing Robot Wars shit at a regional tournament, but they're also suspected of using like a Boston Dynamics like dog bot thing to rob people on the street, and I gotta get to the bottom of that.
Okay.
The skateboarding club is having a graffiti tag war, and I have to do sick Tony Hawk tricks in order to get them to trust me. I have recently found out that there are students patronizing an underground casino that I will have to infiltrate. I can't even remember. There is a boxing gym because one of the students is theorized to have become the payback boxer in town, and I have to infiltrate this boxing gym for criminals. And then I went in and thought it was going to be using the regular combat system. It's not. It uses its own boxing game that's completely new and really good.
Wow. And the school is not the whole game?
No! It's completely optional!
What the fuck?
And I just found out that some of the kids have gotten into a biker gang. And the way they're describing it is that they're a biker gang that is going through the streets doing crazy tricks, and there's no rules between the racers. You can even hit your fellow racers in the middle of the race. And I'm like, oh man, this is going to be a road rash clone once I load it up. But there's nothing that has competed with the absolute genius and production design and joy of going down to the fucking esports club. Because you go to the esports club because the head of it has been accused of cheating, and beating was essentially Daigo with no prior practice. So you walk into the esports club and go, hey kids, what's up? And a guy walks up to you and says, what the fuck do you know about Virtua Fighter? And
For
Yagami
real?
goes, that's where the dude says you're 10 years too early, huh? And they go, check out this old man. Well, we're practicing for a final showdown tournament.
Oh, wow.
So you need to fucking get good. And the mini games associated with are beat the dudes in final showdown matches.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay.
And the esports club president looks like Sekita Sanshiro, and his voice actor is doing a Sonic the Hedgehog impression.
Wait, like the president that's a student?
Yes, the president of the esports club.
Looks like Sekita Sanshiro.
Looks like Sekita Sanshiro. I will... It is... Oh, a Lost Judgment esports. I'll grab a... It is like... It is... Because you know there was the topic about like a little while ago, like, oh, Kratos is reusing this fucking boat animation.
Yeah,
and people
sure.
were butthurt on Twitter about it, and it was just this thing of like, this is so stupid and so absurd. Like, who gives a shit? And then I'm playing Lost Judgment, in which I discover that's like, these guys are reusing every part of the Buffalo, like every single asset or mechanic or clip or animation is just held on to for the absolute maximum length of time possible to be reused and put into something new. There are animations that I was able to point out on stream that have been around since 2004. Like the pouting animation and the people like clenching their fists in front of them, that have literally never changed.
The conversation animations, you mean?
Yeah.
Like the side quest stuff.
People throwing their right fist down and their right leg swings around and their head bows to the left as they pout and stomp and all that shit. And it's like, why? Why make a new one? It's still good. It's still there. It's fine. It's completely fine. And I've been doing all this, and I've been talking about it, and people routinely ask every time I talk about it on social media, isn't there a murder to solve? Who cares? Like, who cares? These kids need to learn that even if you were an art prodigy and you got a hand injury, that's no reason to give up. And I'm going to teach you that by hitting sick 900s.
Are you even a detective / like lawyer guy anymore?
So, I mean, we've talked at length, and we talked even last week about like the tonal dissonance of this series is the absolute maximum. It goes from like Looney Tunes cartoon shit to high-end melodrama, like serious crime shit. I feel like this one is the farthest they've ever been apart, in which I would describe it not even as melodrama, but as like hyper drama.
Okay.
And the cartoon shit is like a different universe entirely.
Okay.
I was walking around and discovered a detective dog that just walked up to me.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
And
all right.
And
Yeah.
one of my coworkers said, "Oh, this is the famous crime-solving dog of Ijincho.
Got it.
He just wanders around and solves mysteries."
Okay.
Only for me to instantly get a text from the head of the mystery research club going, "Have you seen my dog? He likes to sneak out of the house and solve mysteries."
So, I have a question. Since
before you go on, in the same session that happened, we saw the most graphic on-screen murder that's ever been in the series, as well as interviewed the victim of of sexual assault on a subway groping, and went into graphic detail in total sincerity. These things were 1/2 hour apart.
And that was the serious part of the game.
Yes.
Okay.
And a rooftop discussion about bullying that was like legitimately tear-jerking. Like it's as far apart as they've ever been.
Okay, so since Yakuza 7 clearly is going, you know, it's the full RPG system and all that stuff, and this is now the series that keeps the action. Have they built upon the action stuff and like?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's a huge improvement from the first game. The first game had some balance problems, particularly it had 2 styles, but one of the styles was terrible.
Okay.
So there was 1 styles. Now there are 3, and they're all a lot more viable. And it's the typical RGG thing of you kept about half of the moves you earned in the last game as default abilities.
Okay.
Which I'm interested in seeing how they do that with Ichiban. Like, are you going to start those games with like 6 classes available?
I mean, if it's an RPG and your experience always starts, you know, at a low level, then yeah, you don't have to carry over that much. You just earn it back again. And the other thing I'm wondering is, like, do they take the same? Well, I mean, 7 is so clearly backed by a crazy budget, down to the fact that like the voice acting, you know what I mean, is like George Takei and shit like that. Like,
voice acting in Judgment 2 is not. It doesn't have the budget, but it's similarly fantastic. I'm using the dub again.
Yeah,
and it's great. It's great. I'm not going to play them in subtitled anymore.
Is there any bread biting?
No.
Okay.
But at the same point in Judgment 2 where you would have gotten the bread bite, they go for super, super high-end maggot tech.
Oh.
Like highly detailed corpse maggotry.
Okay. Feel the corpse.
Yeah.
That's a super dead body. Yeah, okay. Got it.
What's interesting is that, like, Lost Judgment's plot, and this is, like, outside the game, like, you're looking at it, and you're like, it's a shame that Yagami is going to be hit by a car and die 30 seconds after the end of the credits of this game. I wonder which one of these characters will become the new main character.
And the car needs to drive off into the night, and the only thing you see is a license plate that says SMAP.
Yeah. Alternative, like I would love for them to turn in on it and have the third game be about the murder of the character Yagami. Like, I think that would be a great way to handle it.
Could be interesting. Yeah, could be. Huh. Okay.
His face was totally destroyed. Game is A+, excellent. Game is incredible. I love it. There's only one problem I found with the game. Only one. The Robot Club is the worst minigame they've ever put in the series. It is atrocious.
You said it was Super Robot Wars, like, or not Super Robot.
Yep.
Okay, not Super Robot Wars, as in like Super Robot Wars.
Like you're thinking of Robot Wars.
Robot Wars, yes,
yeah.
exactly.
It's the worst. It's incredibly terrible, and the problem is that the default actual action it's about area denial. You're running over to get Tetris blocks to put them on the board, and you're fighting dudes in order to stop them from getting your Tetris blocks. The problem is that there's a shit ton of mandatory fights, and the enemies are always more upgraded than you, and you have to grind materials to upgrade your thing. It's roughly equivalent to like Pocket Racer, except way less fun than even Pocket Racer.
I fucking love Pocket Racer.
Yeah, and super grindy, and they constantly surface these materials that you can't buy. And it includes the only game's soft lock that I can find. Where, warning to anybody playing Lost Judgment, if you get to Chapter 6 and there's an objective called Kill Some Time, don't go do the Robot Club, because if you get to the story event where you go eat ramen, it will lock you in as well as your autosave. And you will not be able to escape. And it can soft lock and kill your fucking save file.
I mean, I've Zero. I was running into wild item bugs, nonsense, like just playing the game normally. So
I think that's limited to the PC version, but that's not all that surprising considering the lack of experience they have with PC development.
Okay. Well. That is interesting, and I guess it's like, yeah, like the franchise, even though all that Johnny shit has happened, like the split between full RPG and full action is a smart thing, and they can sell 2 of these games on a regular basis if they have the teams for it. So I feel like Sega's gonna want to figure out some solution to keeping a secondary franchise going, I finally managed to scrub through a YouTube video, and I have gotten a screenshot of the esports president's head for you. Okay. Yeah, okay. It's young Fujioka. Yeah.
Like 100%.
Yeah, I see it. No, I see it. The eyebrows are there. Got it. Yeah. That's cool. That's cool. Okay.
What else did I do? I mean, I watched Golden Girls. But, hey, did you know that Golden Girls is incredible?
I never really watched it as a kid, but I do understand it, the energy, because it's been on the air constantly, and but I wouldn't actually sit and watch it a ton. Are you watching it on anything in particular, or did you just get the whole thing?
On my TV screen.
Okay, well, that's fine.
There's something about like a well-written older show from the olden times, because we've gotten through about 2 seasons, and there's no reason to think that it's going to stop. But it's just like, how Rodney Dangerfield is kind of incredible because he has one joke. Golden Girls has like some characters in which there is one joke. Blanche is going to come onto the screen, and she's going to tell a little story, and the punchline is that Blanche is a whore. She's a
raunchy, dirty girl.
That's the punchline.
Yes, every time.
Yes.
6,
7, 8 times an episode.
Yeah.
And they're killing it on every single one. We've probably seen like 200 instances of somebody looking at the camera and going, Blanche is a whore, in some kind of jokey way.
Sure.
And they're just writing around it over and over and over and over.
I've wanted to, and I think I'm gonna go back and watch The Wonder Years, because that used to be my favorite TV show, and I don't know how it will have aged, but I'm curious to find out if there's anything that's just like doesn't land the way it did, because I really, really, really liked it. The atmosphere and the feeling that show would give you back in the day was like fucking great. But then I heard that apparently there's like a spin-off that's in the works or gonna come out or something. And I was planning to go watch it anyway. But apparently there's like, I think it's like, I heard it's like about a black family in the same town on the other side at the same time or something along those lines. I don't know the full details, but yeah. I had a similar kind of like, let me go back to old TV for a second and see how this was.
You know, I'm trying to think about like interesting shit that I did with my week this week, and the only other thing I can think of, and I don't know if it's even worth talking about it, but it's like I decided to go back and play the Diablo 3 on the console because I just felt like that kind of game, and I was playing it, and I had this feeling of like, is this still like the better game in this genre? Because like I asked people about Path of Exile, and they say that it's a bunch of crap, and then Grim Dawn has its problems, and it's just like, good thing I bought this back before I knew Blizzard was evil, so I can still enjoy it to my heart's content, because that's long past that decision. But it's weird. It's just a weird thing, and it also, I'm looking at it, and I was playing it, and I was like, is this a pachinko machine? Am I just running around and hitting buttons to kill enemies en masse so that a shiny thing drops, and then I put the shiny thing on? Like, it feels less steps removed from Cookie Clicker than I thought it was when I was younger.
But is your goal to beat the game or to max level?
I want to see what shiny thing's going to fall out of that enemy over there.
But what's your goal?
I just told you.
So hitting credits doesn't matter.
Oh yeah. Not in Diablo. Diablo has, I want to say it has like 20 difficulty levels.
Okay.
It has like it has normal, hard, very hard, insane, and then something else, and then it has like torment 1 through 15.
Okay.
And it's literally just, did you make your character broken enough to stomp through Torment 1? Take him to Torment 2, where the money and the gear drops are a little better. Are you stomping through Torment 2? Just roll on to the next one, and so on and so forth.
Sure. So, Souls, New Game plus. It's
play until you get tired more than until you beat it.
Roll your character over and just keep buffing. Okay, all right. Cool. All right.
It's weird. I've been enjoying it, but it's also like, this feels like one of the most popcorn things I've like played in a long time.
I've never played Diablo. I always thought
that's right.
Couldn't for a while.
Yeah. Aggressively never played Diablo.
I always just, so my impression of it from a distance was like, oh, it's like a Gauntlet Legends with a story kind of thing.
I mean that you're not incorrect.
That's the impression.
You have a lot more buttons to push to make, fancy things happen, but you're not really wrong. But yeah, all in all, pretty slow week for Pitt. If you want to check out a slightly less slow week for Pitt, you can go to twitch.tv/PatStaresAt. Outer Wilds DLC comes out tomorrow.
Cool.
And then I'm going to play Mass Effect and No More Heroes and Judgment at the end of the week. Woo.
So do you usually like for example, like No More Heroes, you've started, right?
Yes.
So then you stopped it, and then you went back to it, and now you're going to finish it. So
I've been No More Heroes has been in like ping ponged around the worst of everything in the current schedule. Basic deal is I've been doing Mass Effect Trilogy for like 3-4 months, and I'm like 60% through Mass Effect 3, and I'm like, I need to finish. It is a priority because I've done Mass Effect 1, I've done Mass Effect 2. It'd be ridiculous if I didn't finish the third one. And then the Judgment thing came out, and I want to play a full week of Judgment, and then I discovered that there is so much more Judgment than I thought there was. And so I'm like, oh, I'm not going to finish Judgment anytime soon, so I might as well just parcel them back out instead of trying to rush through one.
Okay. Because that's what I was kind of wondering is, like, with me, a lot of the times I'm like, well, we're going to go as long as we can until it's done. But like, I was wondering because I'm like, No More Heroes is also going to be that's not a super short game. Like, that's going to take some time to get through. It's the
shortest of all the ones I just mentioned by far.
Yes. Yeah. But it's like, but like, I don't know how you'd like get through all of those, hit credits and, not and like keep them in rotation. So you put them on break and then come back to them later. I see.
Yeah, I pretty rarely do that, honestly. It's just the timing of all this shit is, I mean, I usually when I'm doing this, it's in September, it's in October, because that's when the fucking deluge begins. And it is beginning. Like, I saw people saying, asking me to do like a full thing of Tales of Arise, and I'm like, it's just not going to happen.
Right.
If
so
Tales of Arise came out in August, yeah, maybe.
So how much of that did you play?
I played it on stream for one session, and then I played it for about 10 hours after that.
Okay.
I'm at the part where I'm about to go into the ice town. It's really good, and I intend to keep picking away at it.
Okay. But like not on stream.
No.
Okay.
And like, for example, I made a judgment call, at the end of like Thursday, going, okay, I'm not going to be doing side quests on camera anymore. Even just the main plot of Judgment is going to take me like weeks. But I will show off at least one of every single of the types of side content. So I'll show off whatever this fucking road rash shit is.
Okay. Interesting, yeah.
And I showed off the skateboarding crap last time.
Because I definitely, like, ever since, we made the decision to, like, not do, like, quick looks and one-offs as a regular thing anymore, then, like, it was very much like, all right, we're committing to some, like, long LPs that are going to be like, bat down the hatches, bunker down, we're going through it. I've been, from time to time questioning, like, whether that approach is going to make sense in the long run. And I think it just kind of depends on the game. But I know that, like, some games it's cool to grab it, take a look, see where it goes, and then, it's fine if you just kind of leave it there. But there's other games where, like, depending on, how well it gels and how well everything feels, and how much people are enjoying it, the feeling of like looking into something that is clearly a huge commitment and then stopping at like episode 3 or so is something that like a lot of people told me they didn't really like. So yeah,
for me, the big deal is that like I think one of the very first things I said when I started playing Arise is, hey, we're starting our look at Arise.
Yeah, I think
it's the one time I'm gonna look at it, and I might continue afterwards, but the schedule does not allow.
I think not Shadowrunner, that first person ninja ass game.
That's whoa, that's not clear.
Wall running, Mirror's Edge, killing people,
Cyberpunk one?
Ghost Runner.
Yeah.
Ghost Runner like was that was one where it's like, okay, look, I have to play this because it looks super cool, but I'm not going to commit to like saying we're going to hit credits on it, and that was cool, but and ultimately it was fine to leave that. But all right, gotcha. let's take either a break or a quick word from our sponsors.
Let's do both of those.
Okay. So you wanna take 5 and then come back?
Yeah, I'll take 5.
All right, cool. Be right back, everybody. All right, a quick word from our sponsors. As I've mentioned, there's a little bit of a traffic jam buildup of these, so we're going to have one more than usual today.
Well, that's fine, because I love our sponsors.
Hell yeah. For example, this week, the podcast is sponsored by Away Suitcases. Away. Which I can say, I recently went on a honeymoon in which...
That's true, you did.
Both myself and the missus used our Away suitcases, and it was fucking amazing.
I should get an Away suitcase.
As per usual, we were, going from Quebec City to Iceland to Ireland, back and forth, hauling. We were hauling these things all around the world, and they were, not just getting shoved into airplane overhead compartments, but they were rolling behind us in the gravel, on the lava rocks, everywhere. We took them with us, and they were amazing. Still the best goddamn suitcase I've ever had. So, I was able to use it at each of our stops, Airbnb, flop out the little laundry bag that comes attached to the inside of it. I put all my dirty laundry in there, flopped it back in, used the space compressor to push the whole thing down. Still had room for, 3 weeks worth of outdooring. And, worked wonders. Had the battery charge for my phone going the whole time. It's a great suitcase. And all of that got, I was able to even, make space to buy stuff, fit it in. I traveled with my kites. They were able to fit inside, no problem. And, all of it was perfect. And the Away suitcase is legitimately an amazing suitcase. Keeps it all nice and sturdy. They've got a big lineup of different types to choose from, and they all come with the stuff I've mentioned, the interior organization system, and the spinning wheels that you don't have to worry about one breaking down on you and all that garbage. It was, always the worst to have the wheels break down on my older suitcases, but in this case, none of that problems anymore. Designed to last a lifetime, and of course all of this stuff comes with their 100-day trial. So if you want to find out, you can use one of their suitcases for up to 100 days. Decide if you like it or not, and if you don't, you get a full refund during that period. No ifs, ands, or buts. So
let me tell you how long 90 days is. First of all, it's 3 months, but that's not really all that informative. What's more informative is, Willie, you went to Quebec City, Ireland, and Iceland. A huge whirlwind tour.
Yeah.
And that was less than half of 90 days.
Yeah, and this is 100 days we're talking about. So.
Wow. That's 10 more than even what I was saying.
So much time. So yeah, you can get in on that. Plus free shipping and returns to any order within the contiguous United States, UK, Europe, and Canada. Start your 100-day trial. Shop the entire Away lineup and travel accessories, essentials, all their best-selling suitcases at awaytravel.com/beast. That's awaytravel.com/beast. Thanks, Away. You made my honeymoon way easier.
More like way easier.
Podcast is also sponsored by ExpressVPN.
Hey, ExpressVPN, what's up?
We all hate region locking.
I'm not a fan.
Region locking in video game world was a problem that we did away with for the most part.
It pretty much died
years ago, and it existed. And they fought and they fought and they tried, but in the end we won and region locking died. But yet still the internet and its services like Netflix are trying to bring that era back because they have, or rather they've never had the thing that video games had where it went away. So
it's still here.
It is. ExpressVPN says fuck all that. You get yourself around all of their dumb gating tech, and you can watch whatever you want because it's the service that you're paying for. You should be able to see the whole library, whatever you enjoy, from the worldwide categories of shows, and you don't have to be region locked behind it if you're getting yourself on ExpressVPN. The analogy used here is, why would you leave your kids with a nearby stranger in the bathroom? Most of the time it'll be fine, but you never really know who you're trusting. And I guess in this case your kids are supposed to be your data. And to be fair, if you're there hooking up to McDonald's Wi-Fi and you get your identity stolen, that's what you get with McDonald's Wi-Fi. Unencrypted, dangerous places where that shit can get ravaged. Yeah, that's the analogy. Would you leave your child with a stranger in the bathroom?
Is that written down in front of you?
Right here.
That's...
It's a little dark.
That's so much more extreme than I was expecting.
It's a little dark.
VPN copy.
But it's even. No, it's not much darker if you get your data stolen, but it's pretty dark. Anyway, they're out there trying to grab your shit, and it can also ExpressVPN is not just helping you with the Netflix stuff, but it's also you getting your security in, and of course you don't have to worry about the server performance and such. The lagless streaming is not a problem. You're going to be getting
it works
that.
Well.
Click the button and do it. I know I do on a regular basis. So, it's, real simple. Encrypted tunnel, super secure, easy to use. You click one button and get protected, and it works on all your devices, phones, tablets, and more, so you can stay secure and on the go. All you got to do, you can secure your online data today by visiting expressvpn.com/superbeast. That's expressvpn.com/superbeast, and you can get an extra 3 months free. expressvpn.com/superbeast.
Thanks, ExpressVPN.
Thank you, ExpressVPN. The podcast this week is also sponsored by HelloFresh.
Oh, hey guys.
Fresh food, pre-measured ingredients delivered to you. Seasonal recipes, mixing things up as the year goes on. Skip the grocery store. Get yourself some HelloFresh.
I have made some respectable foods with HelloFresh with only minimal teaching by my lovely fiancée and the ingredients and instructions provided.
You have told us all in the past about how you felt like a big dick G upon completing those meals because you felt like you did it yourself, even though you didn't. It was their genius chefs that put the meal together.
I did it all by myself. I don't know what you were talking about.
Just
because I was following the ingredients that were sent to me in the proportions that were made for me, in the instructions that were printed out for me, doesn't mean that I didn't just do it all myself.
You too can experience this grand sense of illusion and ego by experiencing self-deception. You can feel amazing about what little you did to put the ingredients together, but you're making great tasting food, and you're getting it across a incredible variety because HelloFresh is over 30% cheaper than shopping at your grocery store with pre-portioned ingredients, making sure you're not wasting money on excess food that ends up in the trash. It's got flexibility. You need to easily customize your order with the app as quickly as you need to. You can change your delivery day, your food preferences, your plan size. You can skip a week if you need to. They've got a ton of choices for you, whatever meal plan you need. And again, all of this comes with the smug sense of self-satisfaction you see on display here, folks.
I did it. It was me.
Go to HelloFresh.com
I made the food.
/SuperBeast14 and use code SuperBeast14 for up to 14 free meals, including free shipping. That's a lot of meals.
If you ate 3 of those meals a day, that'd be like
a lot of meals.
Bunch of days.
And
man.
That's 14 instances of smug self-satisfaction and aura that you can emanate for your loved one to deal with. Why deny them that? That smug aura. Go to HelloFresh.com /SuperBeast14. Use code SuperBeast14 for up to 14 free meals, including free shipping. Yeah, HelloFresh. That's America's #1 meal kit. That's what they say. Thank you, HelloFresh.
I like it.
There you
Thanks,
go.
HelloFresh.
And lastly, over here, the podcast is sponsored by Honey. We've talked about them. It's the name that makes you think, wait, is it literally just the thing that you eat with your pancakes? And no, it's just the thing that you put in the promo code field to save you money at checkout when you're shopping online.
Save money.
Scours the internet for all the codes that you don't have, puts them in, and you save the money. Over 30,000 stores online. I'm sure, likely, you're going to encounter one that Honey will save you some money on. Like it's done for over 17 million other members with $2 billion in savings. So, get yourself in.
Wait, did you say pancakes?
You can put honey on pancakes.
Is that a thing?
Some people, yeah. That? Well, syrup is better, but I know some people that put honey on their pancakes.
Huh. Okay.
I prefer syrup, but you can do it.
All right.
Yeah. Do you not believe me?
I guess I do believe you. I mean, it's not that outrageous. It's just like for a second there, I'm like, wait a second, the sponsor's not named syrup, it's honey.
No, yeah. I mean,
I must have heard mistakenly.
Like, syrup and honey are they're interchangeable in a lot of circumstances. But
not the circumstance of saving you money.
No, certainly not. But I think I prefer syrup in most instances. It's
in the
tasty.
Food instance, yeah, probably. Yeah.
I got some sugar-free syrup that is wildly tasty. It's crazy.
That doesn't make any sense to me because syrup's like 85%
I know.
sugar.
It makes no sense, but it tastes really good. And I don't get it, but it works. And I'm not going to argue with that when I'm doing my keto thing. Anyway, save money, use Honey, installs in a few seconds, and you can use it on all those shops. Get it for free at joinhoney.com/superbeast. That's joinhoney.com/superbeast. Thanks, Honey.
Thank you, Honey.
Yeah. Let's what did I have recently? I was eating something, and I put some of that sugar-free syrup on it, and it was like,
yeah,
it was crazy. I was like, this makes no sense. Like, my mouth is fooled. Was
it meat?
No. Fuck. Ew.
You can put syrup on meat.
No, thank you. You know what else I had too? I got some it's like a sugar-free cereal as well. It's Magic Spoon, who are not a sponsor, but I know they sponsor a lot of other podcasts. I got a bunch of their cereal, and it's like, it tastes like fucking cereal. I haven't had cereal in years, and I was like, oh shit, they kind of figured it out. Not every flavor is great, but at least 2 of them are pretty solid.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah. Although the problem is you're still drinking milk, which is fucking loaded with sugar, so that doesn't save you. But you save on the sugar.
Gives you strong bones, though.
You save on the sugar. Anyway. All right. So this week there is news.
Oh, there is. Oh, there is.
So we've got 2 varieties. We might as well start with the Nintendo Direct variety. Bayo 3 after infinite time has finally been shown off, announced, and this is something I have to figure something out. I'm gonna decide how to approach this going forward, channel wise, because one thing is clear, right? Is the good people who tune in and check us out and enjoy the stuff we do love when we watch.
What good people? You talking to the shitheads that watch our shit?
That's correct.
Oh, they're subhuman garbage, and they know it. They like it when you dump on them.
You know.
Eat the poop, you losers.
So they like when we watch live events, and I understand that it's because you're rolling a game of like gacha dice, hoping that a cool thing that we care about will land, and you'll get a live reaction to that.
Or maybe you're going to watch a fucking Guardians of the Galaxy gameplay walkthrough again.
And then or 9 out of 10 times, it'll be something you either are indifferent towards or don't care about. So when the Racing Power Hour comes on, and I'm like, look, I don't care about these games, it's like I'm forced to either be just disinterested for an hour or talk shit about them, which I don't want to do because I understand some people like them, but it's just not my thing. Anyway,
I've settled on talking shit about stuff that I really does think sucks. To, at the very least, I've ingratiated a new attempt into my brain, which is like, I hate this, but the people that like it seems like this will be good for them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, the other thing is, I plan my schedule, very specifically around what time I have to make everything work in a given week, and when things get bumped and pushed and such, it makes it pretty difficult, especially since
icky.
I'm always coordinating with someone else when I'm recording, right? And on top of that,
I'm just coordinating with the state of my balls.
Exactly, right? And on top of that, a lot of the time I'm not paying attention to when said events are going to go down and such. So this leads to a continuous thing, which is a very often like, hey, like, are you going to watch the direct? Are you going to do a light swatch of the thing? And it's like, no, because I usually don't do those. And then it's like, okay. But then when it's going on, for example...
Oh, you missed the big one!
Yeah, so while Deltarune is going, people are coming in to talk about, like, all the events going down. And I'm like, that's cool. Like, no matter how exciting it is, including a Bayonetta 3 trailer, in my mind, if I'm playing Deltarune or doing whatever I'm doing on stream, I do not give a fuck until I'm done, and I'll go watch the trailer on my own. It's just not in my wheelhouse at the moment. Like, I'm focused on this. I don't want to give a fuck about that.
Wooly, they announced Street Fighter 6 and it's out right now.
Awesome. I'll find out when I'm done.
That's a lie. That's a lie, that one.
That's a lie. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing, is like, it just, if the podcast is something, for example, where we can interrupt it with a trailer dropping and talk about that, because that's what the format is.
And boy, can we.
But if I'm let's playing something, if I'm playing a game, and I'm not, like, I don't want to pump the brakes and go see the thing and then go, and then, and then come back to, like, I hate that. That annoys the shit out of me. Also, most of the time, I'm just not into, like, the other shit happening at these at these shows, when it's just like yawn, whatever, someone's talking, TV, blah, 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 sport. Like, I just, So I've been trying to think about how to, like, handle this. And I'm like, maybe there's a way, maybe I should just, like, record, like, almost like, because I know Max does this, for example. Maybe, like, let's say me and Reggie finish recording or whatever. We can go watch the trailers minus the show, and maybe put something like that out there, And I think I might just do that, because the whole, like, let's watch thing. Yeah, because I know people want it, and they've wanted it the entire time I've been on the internet, and I don't want to give it. It's not I don't want to give it to them, but I don't care about the watching the show. But this is a decent compromise, I think, Because this show had a lot of really cool announcements, and I understand why folks are like, damn, what does Wooly think? Does he know about Bayo 3? Does he know about Kirby and stuff? So, Bayo 3.
I'm going to tell you this right now. This will solve none of the issues you just described, because it will not be live.
at the end of the Deltarune stream, I just put up text on the fucking frame that says, "Don't care about Nintendo Direct news." So when people are jumping in to go, has he seen the? Don't care.
Oh man, it sucks that you don't care about Bayonetta 3. I figured you would like that game.
Not while I'm doing this. I'll deal with that later, you know. And I definitely.
So Bayonetta 3 did get a trailer. Let's just skip on back to that.
Yeah.
And they faked us out. Good.
Because of the military stuff.
Like, so one of the things actually in the legitimate, realistic argument of watching things live is that moments that are meant to fool you don't work if it's go watch the Bayonetta 3 trailer here.
Yes, I clicked on a thing that said Bayo 3 and then I saw military for a couple seconds and I was like, okay.
The thing comes through and I see the Platinum logo hidden in a billboard in the upper right corner. I go, okay, it's Platinum, and I think it's Bayo 3, and then I see that fucking dog from Astral Chain and I'm like, oh, you bitches. And then Bayonetta showed up and I'm like, oh, you got me.
Now that only works in the live reveal context that one time, and then forever it's just a really long intro with a bunch of stuff in it. Where you're like, what are we doing? Why is this taking so long? Yeah. They even had to put like a things that said like not actual gameplay footage while the military shit was happening.
Yeah.
In case anyone thought that this was going to be that, you know.
Looks good, but much more interesting than the fact that it looks good. It looks like a game that got rebooted.
Looks like they went, hey, so how about that Scalebound?
Which no longer exists. Can we use anything off of that?
If Scalebound was still going to exist, it would have been weird. But because it seems like it's just not happening at all, fuck it. Wicked Weave, control your giant Scalebound buddy, right? Her design looks rad, looks really good. It's clearly got the Cereza twin tails going. That looks cool.
Well, you know why, right?
We don't have confirmation, but a lot of theory crafting has said, like, oh, this is going to be the game that explains how she gets the beauty mark because it'll take place as a either alternate universe Bayonetta from 2 or it'll be younger Bayonetta.
I think that is this is my personal thoughts, but I think that is a different Bayonetta. It's like not just younger, it's like literally the one they sent back.
A couple people, people again. The theory crafting is going pretty wild, and of course
There's
the trailer.
A lot of stuff. It's not just like the makeup, but it's like the dance, in particular. Like Bayonetta, whenever she did the summoning dances, it was always like a sexy pole dance. Whereas this one is not that. It's like an idol dance.
Also, she whatchamacallit? So there's the obvious where it's not Helena Taylor anymore,
right?
And it was like if it was going for a younger, like I guess teenaged version of her or something, then it would be a bit more clear as to like why they'd be like, well, we wanted a younger person to voice her. But it sounds like she's doing, whoever it is doing their best Helena Taylor impression.
Yeah.
So it's not clear
also,
why they didn't go with her.
Helena Taylor was like, she's under NDA and can't talk about why she's not going to be playing Bayonetta, which makes me think that she's playing Bayonetta. She's just not going to be playing the Bayonetta you spend most of the game playing as Bayonetta.
But, like, do you think that she... Okay, if that were the case, then what she did would be a fuck-up because it makes it seem as if there's, like, a beef between her and Platinum.
That's quite possible, yeah.
And that would be a bad play to just be like, haha, I was in it anyway, but there's no bad blood here. But the way she was phrasing things, short and terse, and like, sorry, can't speak NDA, sounded like it wasn't exactly a pleasant relationship, you know?
I think what we're looking at is the Nerofication of Bayonetta.
It could be, but...
Because I think that the character at the end of that trailer with the samurai sword is also Bayonetta. I originally thought it was Jen until somebody pointed out that it has the Cheshire Cat doll hanging off the sword.
Huh. Okay. Interesting. The thing is, though, is that the idea of her secretly, because I've seen a couple people talking about her secretly being cast as a different character / an alternate Bayo / the original Bayo or whatever. I don't think she would have tweeted that out in that way if she was in the game participating as an original Bayo. Like if
as we've discussed, voice actors are the leakiest people in the games business.
And I'm taking that into consideration, but I just feel that, like, again, like, if she is a part of the game and this is just a bit of a play as to her not being the main thing, why would it sound so antagonistic? Like, it legitimately created an energy that people are all going like, oh, what the fuck? Where's Helena Taylor? Why is she not reprising the role? And then on top of that, the thing you did hear is not clearly something different. It's similar, you know? So it's almost like, well, you could have just got her to do that. Let's say Kiefer Sutherland showed up and started doing his best David Hayter impression. Then it would be like, what the fuck? Why even bother? You know? But he didn't. He just did Kiefer. You know? So but like in this case, what you're hearing is someone attempting to sound like that similar style. So that's where I get confused by it, you know?
I think the game's called Bayonetta 3 because there are going to be 3 Bayonettas.
I don't like whatever that theory crafting stuff is. I don't imagine like it'll involve her if that's the way she's talking about it, you know? And if she is, then she shouldn't have done that. Because right now people are like kind of coming to her defense going, what the fuck? At her not being in it, you know? Anyway, other stuff though.
The reason I say that is because the Bayonetta logo literally gets sliced into 3 moons.
Okay. I mean, we saw one of them die in the first reveal, right? I don't know if that game still exists, but like that meant something.
I don't think that game still exists.
It meant something, right?
There's not even like a smidgen of a hint of any of that.
I'm curious. One thing I'm curious about is seeing all that like Scalebound play happening. Is you're controlling that and doing that while she's running around, but like, will you be able to beat shit up and combo while simultaneously controlling the giants? Because she's not ever fighting anything while you're seeing the giant control. You know, I'm wondering if they're actually going to keep it in a way where you'll have to do versus controlling both at the same time, because like it feels like a natural thing because the camera is staring at her staring at the monster.
I dunno, LOL.
Yeah, the way it's because then I'd feel like if it was not gonna do that, then you'd put the camera on the Wicked Weave and just follow that fully, you know. But her running around in the foreground or so is what makes it like feel like Scalebound, and it's what makes me think you'll probably have to fight some shit too. That's cool. I like the updated design. Sword thing, yeah. I mean, not much else to say really, but I guess the one thing is like it's nice that like it's nice that the existence of this has taken all the anger that existed with the thought of Bayonetta 3 prior to that trailer drop, and is now just people going like, yay, excitement for new game.
I wouldn't even call it anger. I'd call it like a sigh and like a throw your hands up and let them drop. Kind of just like, come on.
I've said it a million times. They fucked up by announcing it too early. But like, it just like, it's so, I hate that it like, when you do that, when you fuck up by announcing something too early, you create frustration that leads into anti-hype, you know?
Yeah.
It's such a fucking like mistake to make, but
like the biggest mistake you can make.
But it seems like what they showed has everybody, you know, pretty hyped for it. I'm pretty excited to see what this is going to break down into.
Like every single day from announcement, expectations become higher. just and at a certain point, they either become so high they're unattainable, or they like invert on themselves, and people go, "Oh, it's either never going to come out, or when it's been in development so long, when it comes out, it'll be trashed."
Yeah.
Like,
would you rather have nothing? Yes. Unironically
Yes.
and honest and straightforward. I would rather be like, I hope a Bayo 3 happens someday, and then be happily surprised last week. You know? So there's that, and then of course alongside it came the statements where Kamiya basically came in and said, hey, this new guy that's directing it, he's a young pup, but he's got, you know, a lot of potential, and I'll be around, but this guy is kind of crazy. He's crazy because he works harder than me, you know, and he's more obsessed with getting this right than like I would have imagined. So he seems to be talking up pretty big praise. So that's you know, we'll see. I mean, Platinum can't just be the Kamiya company, right? We've seen a couple other directors stepping in and doing cool shit. He's too busy making Soul Cresta. Takes all of his time.
I just got some breaking ass news.
On topic?
Not on this topic.
Okay.
But on video game topic. The U.S. employment watchdog sues Activision Blizzard over discrimination claims. And that was posted at 6:27 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. That a remedy fell through in dealing with the watchdog organization. The lawsuits paint the picture of the company as a frat house, blah, blah, blah. Female employees were verbally and physically harassed, yada, 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 etc. That's not all that surprising. What is surprising is that 19 minutes ago, 40 minutes after that news broke, Activision Blizzard agrees to pay $18 million to settle the EEOC probe. So in the 1 hour since that news came out, they settled it for $18 million. And just said, yeah, we're guilty. We'll just pay you a bunch of money.
How many weeks are we from Activision Blizzard picked up by the local beat cop for offering to suck dick for coke on the street corner? Probably at least one summer. One summer away.
Probably. A lot of folks in the chat are saying that 18 million is not that much, and it's not. But we're looking at a death by 1,000 cuts here, not monetarily, but in terms of talent and in terms of publicity. This is like, the news is way worse than the cost.
In a lot of cases over the years, whenever something hits the goodwill of a company, it's the logo and then everyone feeling bad about that logo. But in this case, and it doesn't happen often, but every once in a while it does, it's not just everyone feeling bad about the logo, it's the people working at the logo also going, fuck this place.
Yeah, so like Overwatch 2 is hilarious because the only news that ever comes out about Overwatch 2 is that their lead is quitting the company. That's happened twice. The game's never been shown, and it's already burned through 2 leads.
Breaking news, Activision Blizzard caught taking a shit between 2 parked cars. Cops have to come in and, you know,
and then
push him away. Like,
he falls in it.
Get out of here, Blizzy. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh. What's
Well,
the
anyway.
over-under on them finding, like a dead hooker in the building? Like in a wall.
Well, over under in this case we'd need a number to guess on what.
Oh, okay.
What that would exactly end up being, but
Booker's
what are the odds?
Photo of Bobby Kotick.
What are the odds? I mean, I'm gonna say 90% that it exists, but not that they're gonna find it.
Yeah, okay.
Not that they're gonna find it.
Yeah,
it definitely exists.
Did we talk about... Yeah, we did mention last week the Diablo 2 lead was just like, do whatever you gotta do, guys. I think they're also leaving the company.
Again, those are the words of someone like browsing LinkedIn, you know.
Yeah. Brain drain is the worst thing that can happen. Because that's the single biggest hit to your bottom line is, oh, everyone who knew how to work these jobs is embarrassed and left.
You know, what often happens, too, is, like, all the fun people that you liked working with and hanging out have formed a new company. Do you want to go hang out with them and work there?
It's called Ghost Dad. I don't know if I want to go work there.
What the? Oh, jeez.
I hit the button by accident.
Careful on that.
Oh, no.
See, I thought you were going to say, like, it's called Glacier.
No, the point I was making is, like, all the really fun dudes left the company to make their own company called Cosby Studios.
Right, sure. Okay.
Oh,
right.
I don't...
Right.
That
was a couple steps. That was a couple steps.
Yeah, I want to.
Had to. Yeah.
It's called Riot, actually. I mean, straight up. That's
Future Club.
That's literally both jokes together.
It's Future Club. It's isn't that not also Respawn? Is that not also, like, you know, a bunch of... Yeah, anyway. Okay, so Bayo 3. Then we got Kirby Automata, which...
Yep.
You know...
It takes place in Seattle.
I said this a while ago during the Kirby Star Allies stream that I did, but you could see in the way that they built Star Allies that they were testing the waters of 3D Kirby. Because while the game itself was traditional and still doing the 2D thing, they were putting 3D gameplay on the maps and overworlds.
Yeah.
You just weren't fighting enemies, but you would fully control Kirby, fully hop around and fly and jump and do stuff, or fly on the star and traverse, but you just would go to the next game level location. So that was a kind of like a testing ground of sorts, and it felt great. It definitely felt like, you know, they figured that out. Of course, yeah, the last boss as well, Void Termina, was a fully 3D boss fight that you got to feel. So like they let it kind of slip in their intentions that, like, hey, this is what we're working on. And that also makes sense as to why Star Allies was such a celebration of the franchise, because it is the last big 2D hurrah, as far as it, you know, we can tell, especially now that there's no, like, separation of handheld and console, to have like there'll still be DS Kirby games or something, you know? It's all Switch now, so probably going to say goodbye to 2D Kirby with Star Allies, you know? This thing...
And that's a bummer. I mean, like, this game looks good. Like, it like legitimately looks like a lot better than I would have thought of, like, an open, free moving 3D Kirby game is. But, like, Kirby's, like, for as much as I've made fun of it, it has maintained a pretty rigid identity for longer than most people listening to this have been alive.
Mm-hmm.
And despite my pointing my finger at it and saying it is a baby game for children and idiots, those games have overwhelmingly been at least pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So, like...
perfect, even.
No. But... I played Canvas Curse. That's not a perfect game. Yeah, I just hope that, like, they knock it out of the park with this first 3D one the same way they did with, like, a lot of the older ones.
So, I mean, I'll say this, like, the clear, Kumazaki-directed franchise that we've gotten here, every time they've attempted something new, every time he's attempted something new, it's been amazing. Like, he's nailed it on every single one of those games for the last, like, fucking decade, practically. I have supreme faith that this is going to be incredible. I
have to ask, when you say something new, like, how new do we mean? Because, like, I've at least seen every Kirby game that's come out in the past 10 years, and they've all looked way more similar to each other than this does to any of them.
Well, so at bare minimum, Kirby running around and fighting Wispy Woods at some point is going to be like a thing that you're like, oh yeah, I know what that is. I recognize it. But like the stuff going on in Robobot is legitimately unique to that game. And the way, again, some of the stuff you're doing, the 3D aspects of Star Allies are, unique to that game. The friend, the subsystem as well that you're pulling in. There's a lot of stuff that is like built on something that was introduced in a previous game, but like adds a lot more complexity to it. Is some of the stuff that was going on in whatchamacallit, the one with Magalore, Nightmare in Dreamland. Even you're seeing like the introduction of like big supers in some cases that are big forms that were not used prior in prior games. They're introducing ideas and kind of like not necessarily taking them forward. Sometimes it's the game has like one thing and it's a specific thing to that one game, and then you're not going to see it again. One thing that has gone forward and been kept is like the expanded move lists, which is really cool. Return to Dreamland, excuse me, not Nightmare in Dreamland. My mistake. The move lists have kept all of the things they've added to them, and that's been probably my favorite aspect of it. Has been like, now when you get like spear or fire or judo, you're seeing like 3 or 4 pages of moves that you can go through, and that shit's really great. But yeah, I feel as if like he's just the games have been really, really solid at these whatever new approaches they went for. So I have confidence that like this is probably going to land and work pretty well. My only question is like, because it's a new style, because it's a new platform, it's a new type of game, will it have to build up the like powers and the momentum and such to get
I'm gonna
to
guess
the size?
that the answer to that is yes.
Yeah, is it will it have the smallest number of powers in recent years? Probably, right? It's the start of a new type.
Let me ask you a question that I'm asking you in total sincerity, because if Kirby's going to be moving to the 3D openness, that means that for the time being in the modern era, or whatever you want to call it, 2D Kirby is kind of over and done with, at least unless this one bombs or they want to do like a revival or a split series or something. If I were to say, give Kirby another shot, should I just go to Star Allies? Or is there another one that's like, this is the one?
Well, there's
don't just say Kirby Superstar, or because that's the one that you personally spent the most time with.
That's not the reason why I say it. When you go look, if you were to go look up the like, where do I start flowcharts, you're gonna see a consensus that I feel a lot of other people agreed on.
I'm going to say no, because I don't do where do I start. Because if I
Okay.
have to ask that question, I already know.
Okay.
No, I'm going to play 1.
Okay. So you want to know. So the thing is, when the chart and the where do I start kind of stuff comes in, and I'm taking like, you know, you're asking me personally, so obviously you're gonna get some of my bias on it. But like when you feel like I'm doing 1, the thing with that is the games do different things. So what you might like or dislike might change according to which one you play, right?
No, just tell me what the best one is.
Well, Star Allies is fantastic, but Planet Robobot's fantastic too. But going back to Robobot, you'd have to get your 3DS out, which you probably don't want to do. If you played
I'm not doing that.
Yeah, so you'd love Star Allies if you just popped it in and played it. You'd like it. It's good. Nothing wrong with that.
Star Allies is the best one. Got it.
It you know, it ain't that simple,
I'll give
but
that a shot.
Yeah, it ain't that, you know. But they do different things. That's what it is. If you like what you see there, you can go and enjoy more in other forms in other places, you know. But hey,
I'm also having that current experience with Metroid in that, like, I bounced off Super Metroid like a brick, like incredibly hard, which was weird because Super Metroid has been talked up probably more than any game ever. Like, it has been held up as like a holy grail. And the experience I had with that in the beginning was that I just don't like how it feels.
See, but here's the other thing with this conversation, Pat, that you're doing. Which one's the best one? Steel Ball Run. Should I start there? Probably not. Got it. Steel Ball Run. Best one. I'm doing 1. Right? Like...
No, I mean, it is, if I had to read only a single part of JoJo, which would you recommend? And the answer that you would give would probably be Steel Ball Run.
But so much of what makes Steel Ball Run so good to me is based on the foundation of the previous parts. Like, the reason why I love Steel Ball Run so much is because it's a celebration of everything that came before. So to divorce it from that creates a weird thing that I don't know how to approach or recommend to people. It's a payoff that's so fucking good to me that I'm like, I don't know what that would be like in an isolated world, you know? Anyway.
Aren't you a guy who looked me dead in the eyes and said that Castlevania starts at Symphony of the Night?
As a fucking gag, but fine. And I also said Resident Evil starts at 4, and it got you good. But on a serious note, Kirby is something that, yeah, if you did enjoy Star Allies and all the shit in it, like, you'd have a lot of fun. That'd be fine. But
I remember people talking about that Star Allies is also, like, absurdly gigantic in terms of content.
The DLC added to it makes it one of the biggest Kirby games ever made, if not the biggest.
Okay, that seems like a safe bet. You'll excuse me a second?
Everything okay? Yeah, go ahead. Okay.
Tell you guys a story. Our dog is fat, and Paige is currently trying to eat some food. So the dog is putting his hand... He's tall enough to climb up, put his hands on the table, and look at things on the table. Well, there's a box cutter on that table, and he was able to knock it to the floor, which then popped open the blade compartment.
Oh, Jesus.
Which shot all the random box cutter blades onto the floor, and then he ran over to check it out, at which point my fiance gasped, and I looked over and saw what was happening and ran over to clean up the knives off the floor.
Peace was never an option.
Yes. The
Okay.
dog is attempting to get a hold of weapons, so on occasion that must supersede what I'm currently doing.
I said it before, and I'll say it again. Slobbering Geef with a box cutter is not quite Sif.
Not quite.
It's not quite Sif, but it is a problem.
Now, I saw somebody point out you gotta teach him to stop table looking. I think the funniest thing about this is that the dog does not even attempt to table look if I'm sitting at the table. The only time he does it is when Paige is there, and that's because he's strong enough to fight her when she goes to push him down. He is aware that he can stay up there for a while if she's pushing on him. So what happens is, if he were to be doing that and I were to stand up, he would immediately drop and leave. I don't even have to go over there.
Well, combination complete one day.
One day.
Yeah, but to close that point off, like, Star Allies is going to have the most shit in it, but there's stuff that, you know, is in other stuff. For example, if you like something I love is power combining, but you got to play 64 to get that, for example.
I remember being there with you when we played 64 at some point, and that is cool.
Yeah. But beyond that, that's fine. It's still very enjoyable, and if you like that, then you go like, oh, maybe get more of this, more of that. What you see in the flowchart is it tells you if you enjoyed this aspect, go here. If you enjoyed that aspect, go there. So there's all that. And yes, Castlevania starts at Symphony of the Night, and Resident Evil starts at 4. As long as it elicits that reaction from you every time, then those words hold true. The
Castlevania starts at Symphony of the Night is like way more outrageous than Resident Evil starts at 4.
I'm sure there's a couple others we can get in the tank, but like those are the two big ones that come to mind.
Persona starts at 3, makes people want to fucking freak out.
Silent Hill starts at 3. Yeah.
What? So, that's terrible.
More like, JoJo starts at 3 is the one you're going to hear more likely, more than anything.
And I'm not even, like, that makes sense. Like, I get why someone would say that.
Somewhere on this planet, at some point, someone said Street Fighter starts at 2, and someone got really mad.
That never happened.
Someone got vexed.
No one said that.
So, hey, the obvious is Kirby's jumping around and looking at abandoned overgrowth that Red 13 and his pups have probably jumped on top of.
And Ellie's there.
Yeah. So, what are the lore implications? Who the fuck knows? Because they do some wild shit every time. Kumazaki's nuts. He fucking goes hard on the Eldritch, and then probably has to get it dialed back from the rest of Nintendo and HAL and approval. I again say, go look at his art when he's on his spare time. The type of shit this man has painted and draws is just straight up nightmare fuel, and he's in charge of the Kirby franchise. So this is why it's becoming what it is. But we will see. And if there's anything to report, I'll be the first to let you know. In fact, I may or may not do a little something to explain it to you. But we'll have to see what that is when we get there. The abandoned Earth has already been discussed in the form of Shiverstar. So we'll have to see what else this... Like, an abandoned city is nothing compared to the abandoned planet that we're on. So whatever it is, We'll find out. But it looks fucking cool. Yeah. Kirby and the Forgotten Land. You a fan of ActRaiser? You an ActRaiser kid?
No.
Okay. Because I never played ActRaiser, but I always saw it at the rental store, and I always saw it high up on the ROM list because it starts with A. And I've been told by people that I used to work with in QA that it's really good, and I've been told about, like, you know, how cool it was, but I never actually went and tried it. But this looks like one of those Xbox Live Arcade remakes.
Literally the first thing that came out of my mouth as soon as I saw it. It looks like an Xbox. It looks like the Rocket Knight. Of
TMNT. Yeah, exactly. It's like we took it, we made it 3D, and it's not that pretty. I don't have a connection to the franchise, so I don't know what I should be looking at, but that's unfortunate that I'm seeing people like really bummed out, because that's a franchise that, you know, has been gone for a fucking long time. There should be excitement at it coming back, but I guess not when it looks like that. All right, fair enough.
It looks terrible.
Yeah, maybe it plays better than it looks, but it definitely...
It looks like it plays pretty much exactly the same as the old one, which, take it or leave it if that's your thing.
But my brain thought Xbox Live Arcade when I saw it, for sure.
100%.
We got that, and then Chocobo GP, which I'm going to bring up for one simple reason. Chocobo kart racing style game, whatever, cool, okay.
Seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah, but here's the thing. It bothers me. And it bothers me for the same reason that Sonic Riders bothers me.
Right.
What does Sonic represents a fast character, right?
Yeah.
Speed. Why? What does Sonic do that makes him fast?
He runs real fast.
Okay, so when you put him in a car,
yeah,
does that still embody that idea?
Do you know what the actual canon reason for that is?
Because he had to be slower.
He's taking it easy on everybody else.
Yeah, I know, and that shit's stupid. So when I see a Chocobo racing game, but the Chocobo is like skating, and then there's vehicles next to it, I'm just like,
right.
But the Chocobo running is the whole reason why the Chocobo would race to begin with.
Wooly, Chocobos aren't cars.
No, they're not.
Like, they're still animals.
But I guess I would expect a Chocobo racing game to be about the running Chocobo, because that's what they do. Because
Chocobo is a brand in and of itself.
Well, this is what we're seeing.
Mysterious Dungeon, etc., etc.
Yeah. But that Sonic R stuff, you know?
This would make sense if the Chocobo was in a car.
It's on skates.
But they have Chocobos running next to other people in little carts and stuff.
Yeah, I said totally Sonic Riders, but I meant Sonic R, the car game. But that's it. Like, when I see, like, the Chocobo is the character or the mascot that is the running fast thing, but we're doing a race and it's not running. It's skating against people in cars, and I'm like, oh, well, okay, you know. But it's cute. It's fine. It's just the whole thing is that it runs. You know, the feet go like this.
That character list can be just super huge, especially since they got like Steiner and Vivi and all that shit. Like,
and when you got a really strong, crazy fast Chocobo, then the feet go really fast. They go, and you're like, God damn, that Chocobo runs real fast. When you get a really
strong, fast Chocobo, they can fucking fly. So this kind of falls apart right there.
I guess, but it just makes me think of the Sonic thing, you know? It makes me think of the character's known for its quick feet, and then we're doing something else here. But yeah, sure. Chocobo GP. And then, of course, we where would we be if not for Chris Pratt? Shoutouts to that person on Twitter, who I do want to credit, so I'm going to go get it. Back a couple years ago.
16 months ago.
Okay. Do you have the name?
I don't. Just goes like...
S the General says, I'm calling it now in May 2020. The Mario Brothers movie will not have Charles Martinet play Mario for no reason and cast someone like Chris Pratt.
I mean, the reason why he made that joke is the same reason Chris Pratt got cast. Is because he's the new hot man in Hollywood.
Correct. Now, I was talking to Punch Mom about this, but basically had to explain. I'm like, here's what's going to happen, right? There's the fact that I saw that cast list and then it still had Charles Martinet, but it didn't say what role he's playing. It tells you exactly what you're going to get here. You're going to get one of two things. Possibly a third thing, but it's something in this line. Chris Pratt is Mario. Charles Martinet will be the Mario on the TV that is like the mascot goofy one that is on the TV in the world, and Chris Pratt's gonna be like, what the hell, why does he sound so weird, I don't talk like that, right? As the gag.
I figured he was gonna be Jumpman.
Or Chris Pratt will be Mario Jr. grandson, and Charles Martinet will be old man Mario. And this is a generational thing where you have to pay homage to it and show that you're not stepping on the old shit, but you still respect it, and maybe even team up with or involve them in some way. Like Cranky Kong is the Donkey Kong of the past, and Donkey Kong is the new Donkey Kong, or Shaft, the movie from a couple years ago, where the second Shaft movie, where Samuel L. Jackson is Shaft's son. But he has a grandson in it, and then in the movie he's got to go meet Richard Roundtree as the old Shaft, and the old Shaft is now back to kick some ass as an old man.
So like, this cast list for the Mario movie it's a weird one, and I think it's the reason why everyone's talking about it is because it is simultaneously the most cynical casting conceivable. In that they just went for like big Mario, big star, right? Without considering it at all. But 2 or 3 of the picks are like perfect. So like Charlie Day as Luigi is perfect.
That works.
He's even Italian.
You know what I think though? I'm looking at this list, right? And since we haven't actually addressed it, if anyone hasn't read it, it's Chris Pratt as Mario, Anya Taylor-Joy as Peach, Charlie Day as Luigi, Jack Black as Bowser, Keegan-Michael Key as Toad, Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong, Kevin Michael Richardson as Kamek, Fred Armisen as Cranky Kong, and Sebastian Maniscalco as Spike, which is like, what the fuck at that one?
Key as Toad and Armisen as fucking Cranky Kong is the picks I would never have been able to even like Fred Armisen as Cranky Kong. Like Key as Toad makes perfect sense because Toad's a freak, and I can easily see Key playing like whatever fucking weirdo version of Toad they want to go with. But Fred Armisen as Cranky Kong is so fucking weird to me.
Okay, but I'm assuming... Do you know who Sebastian Maniscalco is?
No.
So that's 10 times weirder than Fred Armisen. That's the thing. The only reason that would hit you less is because... Sebastian Maniscalco is this comic. He's a comedian that is like for like people that are like boomer aged, and he does a lot of like my old wife and family kind of jokes, And it makes no fucking sense to have a dude like that come in and be like play himself but just apply Mario shit to it. He's the kind of guy that talks like, seriously? This is... The princess got kidnapped again? What? Why would you do... What is this weird comic from fucking...
Okay, I just watched 20 seconds of his shit while you were talking. This guy should be playing Mario!
It's the weirdest thing for him to be in as... Like, that's so much crazier than Fred.
This is like that. This guy sounds like the dude that vomited on Chris Pratt's shoes.
Why would you do that? Speaking with the hands up, you know, and he sells at arenas and shit like that. But yeah, Chris Pratt hates that guy. That guy fucking
can't believe I was in New York and this fucking Italian just walked out, puked on my shoes. I hate New York. That's controversial that he used a 240 character tweet back in 2012.
Yeah, said a couple things there too. Yeah. So that list to me.
Yeah, I know it wasn't real.
Don't spoil. Leave it. Leave it. Let it sit. If they're that dumb, leave it. Leave it alone. I think this is gonna be the type of casting that you look at, and in the end, in the long run, as soon as the trailer comes out, it'll be like Sonic the Hedgehog, where you're like, oh, what the fuck? Okay, what are they going for? And then it comes out, you watch it, and you go, oh, that was fine. There was enough time and money and thought put into this, and the script is going to be really, really combed over to make sure that it doesn't suck. Probably. And I guess it's the Despicable Me people, which, you know, that's what they did in the Minion stuff, I think, Illusion. Mm-hmm. But I bet you it's going to make sense when the trailer comes out, but because there's nothing to see it, like, applied to, you just have these names, it makes no fucking sense. It is
really weird that they announced this and had no trailer.
Yeah. Like, I feel as if it's, you know, again, it's just one of these, like, it seems incredibly baffling. This is probably the dumbest way you could have done it because it's such a jarring list that, like, seeing the trailer would probably make it sort of make sense, but we don't have that to go off of. So your imagination can only run wild, and my imagination is only seeing horrible, dumb, bad things. Like, it's already going to take a while to get used to the idea of a Mario that is not sounding like Mario. You know, that's just Chris Pratt talking. It's just Star-Lord being like, yeah, I don't know, Luigi, what are we doing? I don't, whatever. You know, like, is he even going to try to do an accent? Is he just going to be himself?
I think, it's going to be fucking weird. Like, the idea of a Mario that doesn't even have the strayest hint of an Italian accent is bizarre. Like, let's be very clear. Mario in 99% of Mario programming or game or whatever is so absurd to not even qualify as an ethnic stereotype. Like, he's a fucking weirdo freakazoid, right? But when you talk about, okay, well, I mean, there was Bob Hoskins, there was Lou Albano.
Mm-hmm.
And they should have just gotten Lou. And I know people keep telling me that he's been, you know, they're both dead. But it's who they should have gotten.
Maybe they're going for Brooklyn, Long Island, Newark style Italian, you know, in the Sopranos kind of sense, where they've got the cadence but doesn't actually speak any Italian. And, you know, again, Charles Martinet is there to provide the old generation that also didn't speak Italian but made Italian sounding noises.
I'm just like kind of worried that we're gonna get to Mario and it's gonna be Chris Pratt doing Chris Pratt voice, and that's gonna be jarring the whole way through.
It might be.
It's gonna be real bad.
It very much might be, because that's the other thing is when you get an all-star cast like this, they're kind of here to be themselves to some degree, right? Like Jack Black is not cast as Bowser to just put on his best Bowser impression. He's cast to also kind of sound like Jack Black because, hey, look, we got a celebrity. You know?
Somebody in the chat asks, why not get Mark Wahlberg to play Mario? I can think of a reason why Nintendo would not want somebody that's been convicted of a hate crime to play their most famous character.
Yeah, no, I think they're gonna have to settle for like bad Twitter takes and extreme religion stuff, as opposed to full on stomping out an Asian dude until he can't see. I think they'll take that controversy, you know?
Why isn't Liam Neeson playing Bowser?
I went out looking for a fat Italian bastard. Did you ever find that black bastard, Liam? I don't know. I hope we find out. I hope we find out.
Oh, there he goes.
It makes me lightheaded. I just love the way he said it. I just love the way he said it. Oh, blockbuster.
It's one of those things. I always think about it. I'm like, you know that camera's on, right, man? Like,
he went out looking.
You know you're saying this shit out loud, right?
Yeah.
Like people can hear you.
I'm so happy that he specifically chose the words black bastard. Like, it's great. It rings off the tongue. You got the accent behind it, you know. And yeah, anyway. So that's that casting choice drop, like, unless they deliberately wanted to like discombobulate everybody, they really should have dropped a trailer instead.
Yeah, 100%.
And we might get a trailer that's like also going to have like weird design changes that everyone's going to hate, and then it'll go through a round of Sonic updates. I'm expecting things to feel a lot like Sonic the Hedgehog.
That's going to happen.
You think they're just going to keep it faithful 100?
Yes.
Then
Mario's
Mario
bigger than Mickey Mouse.
Then Mario is going to, if he looks like Mario, then whatever Charles Martinet is playing is going to have to look like something else. Like, and yeah, maybe Jumpman. You know, maybe that's what they do. But this is clearly not the entire cast list. This is just everyone's saying this is the full list.
Your mains.
Yeah, there's definitely a bunch of other, you know, shit to figure out. I mean, what are we just not doing Wario? We just not doing Waluigi?
Well, actually,
is that
Paige
sequel
brought
shit?
it up that Martinet also voices Wario.
Mm-hmm.
So he could just be he could be in the movie as Wario or Waluigi.
But that would be weirder to have all these
characters
being the new versions of these classics, but Wario and Waluigi are the same.
But it would really solidify just what a bunch of fucking horrible freaks Wario and Waluigi are if Charlie Day and Chris Pratt were like, hey, do you want to go to the Italian food store? And then they got there, and Wario was just like,
yeah. Donkey Kong confirmed in there.
Donkey Kong is Seth Rogen.
I hear it.
And yet, I did screw up and say Donkey Kong as Seth Rogen and not the other way around. But that's how Seth Rogen plays his characters, so I feel like I can stand by that.
Get ready for a very strangely, performatively black sounding Toad. Get ready for a Toad to be like, Mario, I don't want nothing to do with it. You know, it's he's not gonna gravel up his voice, he's just gonna be Key.
That's gonna be weird.
Yeah, get ready for that. You know, a bunch of random like comedy moments that hard cut to Toad going, "Oh hell no!"
I would like it if he put on the Toad voice that horrible fucking freak rasp they have. Toads are awful. They all sound like Captain N Mega Man.
Mario!
Yeah,
where are you going? Oh boy!
That's a pretty good Toad.
Yeah, we did Paper Mario. I had some practice.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Fuck.
Anyway, we'll find out.
This is the moment where I'm compulsively forced to check, like, did a Mario trailer come out while we were talking?
I just, like, no, because it's obviously, you know, they're going to wait till early next year, and then you're going to see it for the first time and stuff. But, like, yeah, I really think this is one of those ones where once it drops, it's going to be a, whoa, weird, what, holy shit. But, like, it'll probably make sense in context. But for now, we just get to stare at this list of names and
I can't
get
wait
way
for
confused.
the audio cut where people use movie footage and Parks and Rec audio.
Yeah.
Always Sunny
all of
audio,
that.
And just cut together their own goddamn movie with the existing performances.
They've already taken clips from the Donkey Kong Country show and just replaced it with, like, Pineapple Express dialogue and shit.
Yeah, it works better. Like, I was like, no, that's terrible. And then I saw it, I'm like, I see it.
Doing the stoner laugh, you know.
Hey, Mr. Rogan, I just, okay, just, and they slowly pinch the reefer out of his hand and replace it with a banana in the VO booth.
Correct.
And just go.
Correct. Have you seen Despicable Me?
No.
Okay, neither have I, so no idea. I heard someone, I forgot who, someone told me that they liked it, or they liked the first one, and then all the sequels and spin-offs were pointless or dumb. But I heard that the first one was good or something along those lines.
Was that person a child?
No.
Then their opinion doesn't matter here. This is going to be a movie for babies.
I heard it was, yeah, I was basically told it was in the realm of the 3D kids movies that didn't suck.
Sonic, I feel like, did you ever see the Sonic movie?
Yeah.
How did you like it?
Yeah.
I feel like this will not be as good as the Sonic movie because Mario is more respectable. Like Mario has like when when the crazy guy in town holds up the photo of the Sonic that he saw and it's the gotta go fast like child's drawing, like that got a guffaw out of me.
No, I think it'll be fine because I feel like Wreck-It Ralph kind of sold the idea. And any movie like Sonic had a way steeper hill to climb because that is a CG hedgehog in the real world, whereas I'm expecting this to be a fully like 3D world. Thing. Exactly. So you don't have to buy him standing next to live action people. I think it'll be fine.
This just made me excited for the possibility, low as it may be, but possible nonetheless, of Tails seeing something shocking in the new Sonic movie and them zooming in on his fucked up face.
Sure. I think that like we've seen a lot of these movies and like now it's been things are so carefully packaged and produced, right? Like it's gonna have so much care put into like trying to really make it not be this horror show. But there's still a blind side that these movies have, and that is the Space Jam 2 / Ready Player One / hyper product placement approach of not realizing how creepy and weird that feeling is. That is always
you see that fucking clip from Free Guy?
Yeah. Exactly.
That's cringe.
Yeah, like. There's like they still have a blind eye towards that weird dystopian all properties are owned by these two companies feeling. So that's going to take a couple years before Hollywood realizes everyone hates that. But not everyone hates it, though. That's the thing. Some people are, especially with that Free Guy clip, there's a lot of people in the comments going like, y'all just hate fun. That was great. You know? So it's going to, that's always a risk, I think, is big universal crossover energy coming in. Where it's not just like, oh, that's an interesting, funny nod, but like, oh God, it won't stop. Oh God, they keep going. Oh God, you know? Anyways, there you go. And then, well, this was more, not quite Nintendo Direct, but, definitely not. But, there was the announcement that the Resident Evil 4 VR edition is coming out October 21st, exclusive to Oculus Quest 2.
I'm not gonna play it.
Yeah? I was wondering, because it's like, you know, that exclusivity thing for like a VR game, it's like, you're cutting out so many people that don't want to buy a second headset if they happen to have a PSVR or something, you know, like
Everything Facebook does with that machine is fucking sketch as shit, and the game looks like trash.
Oh yeah,
So.
I haven't taken a look. I was curious because I do have an Oculus, though. Wait, I don't think it's a 2. I don't remember. I don't think it's a 2. But like, yeah, VR exclusivity is a really dumb game to play because this is already so niche and like limited in your audience appeal to begin with, you know? I feel like anytime you're investing, if Capcom is putting work into remaking an entire fucking game like this, why not go, you know, all
they're
VR
not
platforms?
remaking the game. Well, I mean, they probably are. But they're not remaking the game for this. They're using the existing assets and just dumping your VR ass in it.
But isn't it like a completely different like it's the same assets of the world, but isn't it a completely different like control and player scheme?
Oh, yeah, it's the VR control.
Yeah.
I think it's
so.
Shoot guys as they come towards you. It seems closer to be like a light gun shooter than it has to be Resident Evil 4.
It could have been like RE7 engine like recreation, but then there's no way it would be exclusive if they were putting that kind of money into it. So, all right. Then we got a bunch of stuff that is off the games topic. Have you seen the opening credits of Netflix's Cowboy Bebop?
Yep.
Interesting. So, still no way to tell what this is gonna, how well this is gonna work. But, you know, I remain cautiously optimistic. The trailer, or rather, the intro shows you a bunch of stuff that kind of tells you what episodes you're getting. It's interesting.
Many of which are episodes I did not think we were going to get.
At all. So the moment the first thing you see is Pierrot, I was like, oh shit, okay. That's what you picked? You know?
Yeah.
You see the clown, you see obviously Vicious and the shot from Ballad of the Fallen Angels.
Seen Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Abdul Hakim. But yes, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, correct.
Okay.
You see Asimov and Katarina, like the Red Eye first episode couple. You see the animal rights terrorists and the old lady.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm confused because they said that it wasn't going to be a retread of the show. They were going to do something new so that the show could exist by itself, and it wasn't. And that seems like an overt lie.
Fuck outta here, bro.
The reason why I'm confused is because they show us the intro and they show us a bunch of the classic shots, and aside from Vicious, who looks terrible, like embarrassingly awful.
Cosplay looks like cosplay. We'll talk about that in a second. Finish the thought.
The rest of it looks like pretty good to decent in like the style.
Yeah.
But they made the mistake of like directly copying the original intro, which means I get to look at it and go, that looks pretty good. That looks better than I thought. And then I go look at the original intro and go, yeah, but it doesn't look as good as that.
Yeah.
So why would you do the exact same thing?
So I think
it's like a perfect example of why adapting animation to live action is really hard, because you're trying like the shots of them running look awkward because they're constrained by the size and dimensions of their real human bodies,
and real humans don't run like that. You know,
they can't get the dynamism that you could get in a black silhouette animated shot.
So you also see like you see the Bebop taking off and you're like, oh, that's a pretty big CG thing. It's in the intro. Okay, it's not the silhouette font. You gotta get that little like, all right, we'll see how it lands. But the end of it, when you see the three of them appear and you're just like, dear God, there has never been a more gaping hole in that bottom left-hand corner. Like, I can't believe how gaping that hole is. Not at all. Not at all.
Then fuck it.
You know?
My favorite fucking episode is Default Cut, which I didn't think was going to be a big deal because I didn't think they were going to do all the, like, you know? I didn't think they were going to be doing the same fucking episodes.
So when they say we're doing something different, I think that is a way of it's a way of covering your ass so that whatever isn't faithful is like, yeah, well, we said we'd do something different, right?
Yeah, we're doing something different by reusing the same characters, plots, scenes, dialogue, and directing.
So even if it's 80% similar, the 20% that has to change so that we can write ed out / just do something completely like variant from what the original thing was. It gives that coverage. It lets you go like, oh, well, yeah, I wasn't saying this would be a frame for frame remake like Sin City, but expect a lot of it to still do that for sure. I mean, it ain't Death Note, right? So far, it ain't fucking Netflix Death Note, but if that's what we're getting, and did they say how many episodes it would be?
No.
Because I'm assuming it'll be
at least I don't know.
I'm assuming probably like 10 or so, like the Netflix 10 episode miniseries type of thing. And they pick a bunch of those. That's just enough to kind of introduce the Vicious story and like, maybe have him show up like twice. He looks like fucking cosplay so much worse than the others do. Because the others, I'm like, fine, that's fine. Like the cast shot, I'm like, yeah, no, that's fine. That's what, like, looks like it'll be okay. He looks really fucking cosplay-y. But I'm also going, but how do you avoid this problem with a design like that?
I have a suggestion to you.
Is it don't do it?
Don't do it. That's the because Vicious is astonishing because like the others look like cosplayers on a movie set acting out their roles.
Yeah.
Vicious looks like a cosplayer who snuck onto that set by comparison.
I think like we can expand this problem out quite a bit further, I would say, which is Bishonen in general in live action are really fucking tough to do. To land that energy and not feel like that's just some cringy cosplayer kid is rough. The hair doesn't lend the same energy in real life. It just looks like a weirdo with this wig on with a sword spinning it around, and you're like, that's just you're a fucking cringe lord. Like, it doesn't feel the same.
This is important. I think this is actually really important because the excellent visuals of the original Cowboy Bebop do blind you to the fact that Vicious is cringe in universe. Like, the only reason the fights with Spike kind of go his way is because he's using like 10 goons as like bullet shields to run
is it
close
the voice
so he can hit
then
you with his samurai sword.
Is it just the voice that's selling it so hard?
Yeah,
you know?
The dude's got I got a big crow that hangs out on my shoulder, and I cut people, but like he's fucking cringe.
Because that shit landed for me, man. I was like, damn, that's a rival. Look at that rival sword boy, you know? I just like, and I think about how if there ever had to be a live action Alan Shazar, how awful that would be. How awful that would look. A live action Sephiroth. You just cringe and die. Like, it would be the worst shit ever. It has to be that goofy anime shit.
You could do a live action Alan or Sephiroth, but you'd have to go K-pop.
I'd have to see it. I don't know. I can't. It just doesn't seem like, it seems like it's always going to have that cosplayer energy, you know? Fucking live action Vega, you know, Claw from Street Fighter, like it just, the hair is always going to not carry the anime like suave, like in the wind, cool guy vibe that it does, which it already kind of doesn't land anymore in anime, like you're kind of saying. I don't know how they could have done Vicious. I don't know what they could have done. You know?
I will say there is one thing about the Netflix adaptation intro thing that I saw that I actually really dug and liked, was that all the text in the background's been changed to Japanese instead of English.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's an American production working on a Japanese property, as opposed to a Japanese production working on a ostensibly American property.
Yeah, the logo has Japanese in it.
It's a cool little thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I expect, you know, them to show that off, especially with the setting and the influence of using like Chinese currency and things like that. You know, I imagine the like, that's what I was gonna say. The Witcher is an interesting example of like, it's not anime, but it's basically like a European Bishonen, right?
Kinda.
He's got long silver flowing hair.
Well, okay. Well, hold on. Like,
okay,
depends on what version you're looking at, because Henry Cavill is gonna look like that. Geralt is canonically like kind of like a busted looking old man.
So, because going off of like what I see, I'm just, again, having not actually gone through it, looking at like the games and stuff, I kind of see like, you know, that like he's got the half shave, he's got the 5 o'clock shadow and the grizzled jaw and chin and face, but like he's got that elvish kind of hair, right?
Yeah.
And then seeing Henry Cavill like with it, the first impression I had seeing that him in costume was, oof, that wig.
Well, he's just doing Fabio, really.
Right. So, then everyone said it worked pretty well, and in the end, like it ended up being fine. But I remember the first impression I had of that wig upon seeing it on Henry's head was, that looks like cosplay.
Yeah,
you know,
it does.
So, did the show then like make that better? Did it surpass that initial impression?
It looks fine. It looks fine.
Okay.
It's not very accurate because it's like, it's supposed to be like the fucking weird looking grizzled old man.
So then the performance can surpass the cosplay.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Yeah.
So Vicious could possibly nail this.
No, not this one.
What?
No way.
But I thought we just established.
Vicious looks 100 times worse than Henry Cavill as Geralt. Like, it's not even close. Like, it's like the others look about the same as like Geralt, Henry Cavill. Vicious is like 100 times worse than all of it. It's crazy. It's fucking nuts. It kicks you out of your enjoyment of watching that intro for you to go, oh shit, who's that loser? It's the primary antagonist.
Like, I'm wondering if like thin, normal, long hair would you just have to change it to another hairstyle completely? Like,
Orlando,
you know,
Bloom pulled it off.
Yeah, Leggy did the Leggy.
The number
he did.
one
No,
thing
he did.
Is the
That's
guy's
true.
Gotta be super pretty.
Mm-hmm. Legolas is a good counterpoint to like creating a live action fucking Bishy Bish.
Yeah. Orlando Bloom could have been Sephiroth.
But could you do the same? You can't do the dumb front hair thing though. Like, you couldn't do the same hairstyle in real life with that though.
Hey,
that would look terrible.
If Agent Smith could get by with his little hair tassels, I still remember the day you just started screaming in laughter because you had the mental thought of Elrond's little hair tassels just being stapled to Agent Smith in the Matrix, and you were losing your fucking mind. That was like 15 years ago. I still think about it from time to time.
You know what it is? Here's the thing, right? So John Cho is going for the most Spike-like hair he can have using his own hair.
Mm-hmm.
He's puffing it up, and it's wild and unkempt, but it's still his hair. It's not a Spike afro, right?
Mm-hmm. So
by that kind of token, you're looking at it going like, okay, well, we can make this work as long as the attempt is still using his own hair and making it kind of work, but it's not 100% the same. Vicious, it feels like they tried to make it too accurate, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, because they want the shot of him looking down and the hair going past his eye line.
Yes, and the Ballad of Fallen Angels, right? The knife to the sword and the knife to, the sword to the gun, and then you already see him falling out the window, so you know what that's going to be. Anyway, I think that was Julia in the intro as well.
It was Julia, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. So you had that. Moving along real quick. The rebooting.
Quantic Dream lost one of its libel cases and won the other one because Le Monde would not cite their sources to the court.
Great.
So they would have lost that one too, but Le Monde was protecting the employees that snitched on Quantic Dream.
So we got. Oh yeah. This is. This is probably more. You could probably chime in here. They're rebooting Babylon 5.
I don't care. Don't know anything about Babylon 5. You would think I would. Don't know.
Really?
I have no faith in this, however.
I thought you were a Babylon 5 guy.
0 episodes seen.
Damn. Okay, so just Battlestar Galactica.
All I know is that people used to compare it back to Deep Space Nine back in the day.
Yeah, I guess between BSG and Star Trek, I thought that might have just landed in your wheelhouse, but all right, fair enough.
It probably has, but I've just never seen it.
Okay. CW is doing it, so get ready for your fucking Dawson's Creek, Riverdale
trash.
energy.
Oh, that's gonna be garbage.
Like the CW stuff is just, it's turned Dawson's Creek into a genre, and just, it's unbelievable. Like the CW-ification of like superheroes and Archie and Sabrina and all this shit is wild. It's Yeah. Anyway, all right. There's that. There's a trailer for Sandman, which is a good ass comic.
Oh, it is a good ass comic. Okay.
Fucking amazing comic. I will have to see. You know, if like the trailer seems like it could be cool, but that is a high bar to match if you're going for the Sandman comic. It's great shit. Classic. I always say the name wrong.
Series.
A Netflix series.
Okay.
And I always say the name wrong, so you know I'll option select it. But Neil Gaiman / Gaiman. You know, it's a fucking just amazing example of him writing comics. Like, whoa, super good shit. Trailer for that's out. We'll see. And then we also got to take a peek. Actually, no. Do you remember in 2014 when the Joe Shuster estate tried to sue DC for the rights to Superman?
I do. Well,
now Marvel is having the exact same thing for the rights to Avengers, Spider-Man, Iron Man, Doctor Strange, Ant-Man, Hawkeye, Black Widow, Falcon, Thor, like all of it.
I'm gonna fly through this as fast as I possibly can. I was arguing with people about this over the weekend.
It's wild.
This is a court case that Disney should lose by default because they have been pushing the use of copyright and all this shit and stealing rights away from creators. But Marvel in particular has stolen characters away from creators for decades and decades and decades.
I think it started with Mickey Mouse as the extending the 100-year rule.
Yeah. But the absolute embarrassment of some people looking at this of for example, the Ditko estate is trying to kill Spider-Man. They're going to take Spider-Man away and make it so that there's no Spider-Man things anymore. And it's like, okay, one, even if that was the case, the family's individual rights to their dad or grandpa's creation that was probably taken from him by extra legal means is more important than the enjoyment of your video games or your comics. And two, that's not what it means at all. It just means that Disney or Marvel or whoever, what subsidiary, will have to pay the licensing fee for the most popular character that has ever existed that's made them $100 zillion.
So they specify
they pay licensing fees to everything that they don't completely own.
So they specify in the report that it is it's not for an exclusivity of ownership; it's for a shared ownership.
Yeah, so it's like people hating on this because like, well, no, the Disney has to keep it so that my toys and my movies. It's like, no, you're just arguing that the family of somebody who created the most popular character ever or some of the most popular characters ever don't get their legitimate fair share as part of their estate because Disney makes a movie that you like or Marvel makes comics that you like. It's absurd. It's one of the things that we've come back to on this show like time and again. It's like movies are great, books are great, video games are great. They're entertainment products. They don't supersede people's well-being, lives, or rights.
So the thing with so one, as you mentioned, Disney has started and pushed forward that 100-year rule on things becoming public property basically after that point with Mickey Mouse, and they keep extending that. I do know. Again, it happened with Superman, and they fucking lost. Like DC won and stomped that out. So people are expecting this to go in a very similar fashion.
Oh yeah, they're gonna lose super hard.
But what this does bring up is the story of the Marvel method, which has been discussed a couple times in the past when it comes to...
Great way to steal characters from everyone who works for you.
the way characters are created, and it used to be created back in the day, where it would just be like, as they're describing it, a series of loose discussions with the artists about like, what if this guy had this, or what if someone had that, and then more or less the lion's share is then done by, you know, the artist at that point to create and flesh out and design the character, or like the writer or so. But there would be a initial spark, kind of quick conversation that allows Marvel to then be like, hey, no, so we own this completely because that initial sentence that you fleshed out came from us, you know?
Yep.
Probably gonna get stomped out, but it is definitely crazier and higher stakes than the DC one was, because this is everything important at Marvel, like post MCU. So this type of thing happening now is how many billions? Like, yeah, they didn't even get a full estimate on
zillion.
It. But
just say $1 zillion.
And according to the usual termination provisions of copyright law, they would have to give up the rights as of June 2023, unless they're able to extend them with the courts in some particular way.
Somehow I think they'll manage.
We'll
somehow.
See. We'll see. It is interesting,
Literally
though, that
everything that you care about, to most degrees, should be in public domain already.
Public
domain, what used to be automatic, after 30 years.
It's interesting that this is happening, like now, considering imagine what this lawsuit would have been like if this was pre-MCU, you know, if this was back when, like,
I would have been the same.
But the size, scale, and like volume of the money involved, you know what I mean?
It'd be a little different.
Yeah, Avengers was not the biggest Marvel property, you know, back before these movies started. Like, it would have been a very different case. But it just so happens that the 2023 is the year that this is supposed to expire. So, anyway, let's take some letters and get the fuck out of here.
Let's take one letters.
Yes, one letters.
If you want to send that letter in, send it to castlesuperbeastmail@gmail.com. And this will be the one letters we'll be reading for this week.
Okay. This one comes to us from Richard, who says, Dear Battle Booper Beast, played through Mass Effect LE recently. Listened to the audiobooks of the 3 canon novels written by Drew Karpyshyn, excuse me. Because fuck my life, and I can resoundingly anti-recommend these books for even the hardcore fans of the series. They're dull as dusty dishwater. I finished the 3rd novel, all caps underlined Retribution in red. I thought I would share more of the continued embarrassment of that is Piss Stream Sam. So, the continuing expletive adventures of Kai Pussy Lang. He's described as a nasty, sick cyborg ninja, because I guess they hadn't worked on his character design yet, but he's still told and presented in the narrative as the most cool badass, trained in every form of combat, best of the best of the best of the best, fearing for his fucking life like a Mexican police officer, etc. Kai is principal character, so we get to see the world through his perspective. Of course, this deep and respected character can be concisely summarized in every scene as always angry for no reason, love murder, is racist, no really, is really racist, like to the point where he's disgusted by the presence of any aliens in negotiations. With Arya, the elusive man has to write him a script because he knows Kai will fuck it up. Just like ME3, no matter how much they tell you he's cool, he still fucks up and constantly only survives through sheer luck. First thing we see him do is half botch a kidnapping because he didn't check if anyone else was in the apartment, despite the narrator telling us
the first thing.
He's the most patient and skilled assassin ever. After this, Kai eminently stabs and kills an unconscious woman, or a sorry whore, as he would say. This one is one of the few fights he'll win in the story. And perhaps the most agonizingly pathetic part, Lang is captured by Anderson, held at gunpoint, and There's also a severely injured kid, the same kid Kai tricked into helping him. Yes, he literally hides behind children in this story. And Anderson tells Kai to help to stop the bleeding. Kai smugly, of course, says Anderson will have to let him go, and if he wants to help the dying kid. And Anderson just shoots Kai in the leg and goes to help the kid. So one of the last things we see of Kai is him pathetically crawling on his belly in immense pain to slowly escape after fucking up and being captured for the second time. So anyway, in the audiobook, the guy who reads it gives him the whiniest voice possible.
Dude.
So when he says things like, this badass is on your side, it's a squeaky Simpsons teen.
In Mass Effect 3, Anderson references that event, but references it like, I shot the guy in the legs and that still didn't even stop him. Like, it's played for badass points.
P.S. double icing on the cake, according to the Mass Effect wiki, Leng is Chinese for cold, or in this case, isolated and merciless.
All right, that's enough.
Good shit.
Kai Lang fucking sucks.
Good shit. Kai Pussy Lang rides on.